and your car.
Correct.
I was out for maybe less than 2 minutes.
I had noticeable issues and got worse and worse, and I had to get it towed.
Because the way he drives, there's videos of how he drives.
What an idiot.
This is Judy Justice. Sean Spencer is suing his friend, Sierra Coya, for engine damage after Sierra drove his sports car without permission.
Court, come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 3099, Spencer versus Coya.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Spencer, how old are you?
19.
Who is this?
This is the person who evaluated my car, the mechanic.
How old are you?
I'm 18, Your Honor.
This is your claim, Mr. Spencer. Your claim is that the defendant took your car without your permission and for sort of a little test drive or a joyride, and she blew the engine on the car. That's your claim.
Correct.
The defendant says it's absolutely not true. She didn't do anything to the car. She does acknowledge that she took it for a test drive. She said, I did nothing to the car. The car was perfectly fine when I brought it back.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so tell me on what date you were hanging out and your car was taken by the defendant.
It was September 28th, Your Honor.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 2013 Scion FRS, two-seater sports car.
So the car is 11 years old.
Correct.
How long have you had it?
I've had it since May 25th.
Of this year.
Correct. Or, yeah, 2023.
Who'd you buy it from?
I bought it from a neighbor.
How many miles does it have on it now?
It has 140,000 miles.
How much did you pay for the car?
I paid 12 grand.
You paid $12,000 for a car that had 140,000 miles on it?
Correct. It's a sports car.
Okay. Where'd you get the $12,000 from?
Some of it's through a loan through my mother, and the rest was in cash.
Where'd you get the cash from?
Jobs or...
So you saved up?
Correct.
Okay. So tell me what happened in September.
So it's September 28th. We were all hanging out for a couple of hours.
Where?
This is up in Palmdale, just off 49th Street, at a friend.
Where were you? At a friend?
Yeah. It was one of the friends that we were hanging out with.
Okay, how many people were there?
5 of them, me make 6, so 6 total. My girlfriend's birthday was the following day, so we were gonna hang out throughout the night up until midnight.
What time had you gotten to your friend's house?
Roughly like 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Dinner
What time did you get there?
I got around 3 p.m.
Okay, now tell me what happened with the car.
We were all hanging out in her room at the place in Palmdale. My keys...
Your friend's room?
Yes, correct. My keys as well as wallet and phone were all on a desk. We're gonna head down to Canyon Country, Santa Clarita, and just before leaving, the defendant had punched me in my stomach and kicked me, ran off, stole the keys, and then...
Out of nowhere, she came and she punched you in the stomach and kicked you where?
Like, just somewhere like in the side. I was on a bed, and then she had hit me and I turned over and she had kicked me and then ran off.
You mean from nothing? You didn't have any incident with her?
No, not at all.
So
she's rather physical and has been in previous... We've hung
physical
out before.
how?
Just punching, hitting, pinching.
You're talking about playfully?
Not
because otherwise you wouldn't hang out with her.
I don't necessarily like to, but it's a friend group that everyone else I enjoy being around. So I kind of just sort of deal with it, if you will.
So now she's punched you in the side and kicked you. Mm-hmm. And then what?
She then proceeded to take my keys and run out of the house. By this time, 3 others were out of the bedroom and starting to get out of the house.
Just a second. So you were alone with her on the bed?
So we were all getting ready to leave. 3 people had already left the room. What was left in the room was me, my girlfriend, and the defendant. Mm-hmm. Then...
And where were you all?
I was on the bed, and my girlfriend was on the bed. She was standing just in front.
And?
And then she proceeded to hit me, kick me.
So what you're telling me is she leaned over, she punched you, and then got her foot up and kicked you someplace.
Yeah.
Got her foot up over the bed and kicked you.
It was like hip level.
I think I believe that. I don't. And then she took your keys and ran out of the house.
Correct, she ran out of the house.
Okay, now, tell me how you got the keys to the car.
He had them laying on the desk. We were all just messing around. I didn't hit him or kick him.
Would you just tell me, don't tell me what you didn't do. Tell me what you did.
I grabbed his keys and I went out of the house.
So when you say you grabbed his keys and went out of the house, you took the car without permission?
Yes, I did.
Why?
It was a sports car, so it was like I wanted like an experience of like driving it. It was supposed to be as a joke. I didn't mean it in a harmful way.
I don't think you meant it in a harmful way. But you took his car without permission.
Yes, and I apologized for it, and he said it was okay and forgave me.
When did you apologize?
Directly after I took his keys and took the car.
When you brought it back?
Yes.
Okay, so you didn't apologize before you took it. You took it, and it was about what time?
9 p.m.
Okay, 9 p.m., and you've been hanging around for a while. So you've been hanging around since 3, so you were there between 5 and 6 hours.
Yes.
Anybody doing any drinking?
No.
Anybody doing any smoking?
Nicotine, yes.
Okay, but nothing other than that?
No.
Okay, so now it's 6 hours later, and you took the car. Where did you go with the car?
Up and down the street. I did not leave the neighborhood. I was out for maybe less than 2 minutes.
Did you hit anything when
No.
you traveled?
No, not at all.
Okay, and when you came back, he must have been annoyed.
Yes, he was.
Okay, so he's waiting for you outside.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Spencer, she took your keys. She acknowledges she took your keys without your permission. You went following outside after her, I assume.
By the time I was making it outside, she had started the car and started to back out.
Okay, so you were there, just a second, so you were there when she backed out of the driveway.
I was there as she had stopped getting out of the driveway and she was going forward.
She was in the process of taking your car, not returning it.
Correct.
In effect, she stole the keys to your car and your car.
Correct.
Okay, so now you're standing out in front of the house, in front of your friend's house, waiting for her to come back.
Correct.
How long were you standing there waiting for her to come back?
It was roughly
Careful.
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Correct.
So she didn't go very far.
No.
Now, did you see the car? It's not an answer.
Sorry.
You saw her pull away with the car.
For the first 200 feet until she turned onto a new street.
200 feet you saw. And then you saw 200 feet when she was coming back, because she
Correct.
was out for 3 minutes, so you just stood there. So she didn't go, maybe she went around the block once.
Right.
Okay. And then she brought the car back. And what did she say when she got out of the car? She says she apologized to you.
Yeah, I was infuriated with the fact that she had taken the car because it wasn't the first time she had tried to do this. This was just the final time that she finally went through with it. And then when she had come, she had said, like, I'm sorry, this and that, because she could tell I was really mad. And at the time, I was just like, it's okay, because the next day was my girlfriend's birthday. I was trying to not keep the mood down and really just mellow, if you will.
Now, you said you were going to hang out someplace that day. Where were you going to hang out?
We didn't have any specific plans.
9 o'clock at night. Where did you go?
After that, we ended up driving down to Canyon Country.
Okay.
But my car
Just
didn't make it.
a second. You drove down to Canyon Country.
My car did not make it.
Sean Spencer claims his friend, Sierra Koya, owes for engine damage after she drove his sports car without permission.
Okay. You got into your car with your girlfriend.
Correct.
And how far did you get?
A couple miles.
So you drove it a few miles.
Yeah, probably about 4.
Now, how long did it take you to drive the car these 4 miles? Did it take you 10 minutes?
I would say more like 5 to 6.
6 minutes and 4 miles. That's going pretty fast.
Correct.
How fast were you going?
I think it's 55 there. I was going 55.
Okay. So let's say you were doing 55 miles an hour. And then what happened?
That whole 6-minute drive, I could not get much power out of it. It wasn't working.
You were
right.
traveling 55 miles an hour. That's power.
Yeah, but it wasn't like it wouldn't get there as quickly. It was having noticeable issues. There were sounds. I have a video of the sounds as well that was taken after that 6-minute drive, and it had started the second I got in the car and got worse and worse. That's why I pulled over, took the video, had all of that.
Okay.
And I had to get it towed.
And did you have it towed to his shop?
I took it to one shop first. It was a friend of my mother's. He gave us a quote for $7,200, and that was not in our budget. So then I ended up taking it to him.
Okay, and where did you find him?
This is my uncle, who also works for LA.
It's what?
He's my uncle.
He's your uncle.
Correct.
Stand up, sir. Is he your mother's brother?
No.
He's your father's brother.
Correct.
Okay. You have a shop, sir, or do you do this as a sideline?
I was a mechanic for 20 years, and now I'm...
That's not what I asked you. I asked you whether you have a shop, or is this a sideline?
Sure, I run a shop.
What kind of a shop?
The LAPD, Central Division Police.
And what do you do for them?
I'm an automotive supervisor, so I supervise all the mechanics in charge of 1,300.
And did you, in fact, fix it?
I didn't do it personally. I diagnosed it and had one of my guys repair it. I didn't have the time to fix it.
You had one of the guys from LAPD do it?
Yes,
Where did he do it?
at his house.
How long did he have the car at his house?
About 2 weeks.
Did he present you a bill, or did he present your nephew with a bill?
Well, we bought the engine from I'm an importer, and so with the bill, I just had him buy the engine from them, and then we just paid him.
Just a second. So you bought the engine secondhand?
Yes.
And how much did you pay for the engine?
45, 20, 25 cents.
And how much did you pay to put the engine in?
700. 500 of that was for the labor.
Okay. Now, you heard, so you have a certain amount of expertise, I assume?
Yes.
Based upon what you told me. What was wrong with the engine?
It had a piston that had contacted a cylinder head and bent the valve, so it had low compression in one cylinder.
How does that happen?
Over revving the engine.
Over revving?
To put it in a drastic measure, if you're on the freeway going 70 and you're in fifth gear and you stick it in third gear, what's going to happen? Your RPMs shoot up and the engine has too many RPMs and it's not made to have that many RPMs. That's why there's a red line on your tachometer. You're not supposed to go over that. The mechanics can't function that and it over revs and it makes contact with each other.
When that happens to the engine, does the engine seize?
Well, it bent a valve, and so the valve just stays at the bad angle to where it can't seal the combustion chamber in the cylinder, and so that's one of the 4 cylinders doesn't make full power anymore.
But it has power.
You can drive it, it's still drivable, yes.
And it could go 4 miles.
You could probably drive it across the country, but yeah, you get poor gas mileage, check engine light would be on, and it'd be noisy.
Because it ultimately stopped, because your nephew drove the car about 4 miles at 55 miles an hour.
When I saw it, the car was still running, just making a horrible noise, and I don't know if it stopped on him or if he stopped it because of the noise.
Did you stop it because of the noise?
Yeah, I started to stop, and then as I was slowing down, I probably hit maybe 2 miles an hour, and as soon as all the lights came on the dash, and then it seized for the next 10 feet.
Okay. And Mr. Spencer, prior to the 28th of September, had you had any mechanical difficulty with the car?
Never.
You had never taken it to a mechanic or anything else?
No.
Okay.
It had no reason.
So the evening of this event was the first time you had heard this kind of a noise in the car?
Correct.
Didn't hear it when you got to your friend's house? Okay. Koya, is that how you pronounce
Yes.
your name? Miss Koya. So let me tell you this. This is the decision that I have to make. You can have a seat, sir. Thank you for your assistance. It is very hard, almost impossible, to say for certain that you caused damage to his car. I don't have to find that as a certainty, that you caused damage to his car. I can look at circumstantial evidence. Now, if he had given you permission to take his car and you drove it, and 4 miles down the road when he's in the car starts to act up, I would have said, you know what? I really can't tell whose fault it was. He's traveling 55 miles an hour. You took the car because you've been hankering to take that car and have a test drive for a while, according to him, which I believe, because you stole the keys and stole the car. That's what you actually did. So it's a very easy decision for me.
Yes, but they did go to Ventura. They did drive that night to Ventura, and he was speeding that way. And
How do you know?
Because the way he drives. There's videos of how he drives.
Your problem is you stole his car.
Yeah, and he admitted into text that he was low on oil and the engine seized because he had no oil in it.
May I see the text that she's talking about? Who's...
A friend that was there with the group.
Well, you explained to what happened with the car. Now you can stand up, sir. You understand what I was telling her, that if I couldn't make a determination as to what caused this problem with the car, the fact that she took the car without permission makes my life easy. You would agree with that?
Yes.
But you would agree with the fact that if there was some other basis for the car to have malfunctioned, it wouldn't be her fault.
Yeah.
Could the car malfunction as a result of being low on oil?
There's millions of reasons a car could malfunction, yeah.
Was that, well,
That's
I'm
not
not talking
what
about
happened.
millions.
Yeah.
I'm talking the problem with the engine.
A lack of oil can't make the piston hit the valve, no.
Well, so let me read you what he said to his friend.
I had sent that text after the first mechanic had looked at it.
So, first you're right, every cop knows me now, so when they pull me over, they only give me speeding tickets of 60 miles an hour. What happened? So, it was low on oil, and the engine seized up. Ruined just about everything. It's beyond repair. In order to fix it, it needs a new engine, and then the labor and parts put in it, which is about $8,000 from what I've heard. Scrap yards only offer about $1,000 for the car. And he says, damn, I'm sorry. Does that sound familiar to you?
Sort of, yes.
Yeah.
Sean Spencer has accused his friend, Sierra Koya, of driving his sports car without permission and damaging the engine. Sierra claims Sean drives recklessly and damaged his own engine.
Why would you drive a car that was low on oil?
The first mechanic that had it looked at, that's what he said. But I drained the oil.
So, it was low on oil and the engine seized up. That's what the first mechanic told you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't be her fault,
correct.
right?
However, it wasn't in need of any oil, and I check it on the first of every month.
Okay.
I had it serviced. Well, this was 4 months.
Do you
before-
understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying to you. You have any other texts for me to look at?
Yes, I have these two, and then the videos of him speeding.
He speeds, but I'll look at the video anyway because I like to look at pictures. It's.
And then I also have
Shh. I don't know what this has to do with anything.
that they were speeding on the way there.
Oh, so the drive from Starbucks to Chick-fil-A. You went to Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are other.
Yeah. Was supposed to be like 45 minutes. This is on September 15th. You following this, sir?
Yeah.
So the drive from Starbucks to Chick-fil-A was supposed to be like 45 minutes. We did it in 15.
It's impossible, but okay.
It's just him talking.
Yeah.
Cool. 109 miles for me the entire way.
That's my buddy's truck. We all rode in his truck, so that's him speeding. That's not me.
You rode in his truck.
Correct.
Just a minute. So when this is every cop knows me now.
That was me. That was in my
Yeah,
car.
every cop knows me now. So when they pull me over, they only give me speeding tickets for 60.
It was a joke because I'd gotten a speeding ticket, my first one, a couple weeks before. I got it at 2 in the morning after a closing shift
Okay.
for 60 and a 45.
Now I'm going to take a look at the video. How did you get this video?
He sent it to the group chat.
He sent it to the group chat.
Yes.
What an idiot.
And there's multiple videos.
Oh, what an idiot.
It seems like they're all going about 50 miles an hour, and it says 93. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't
No,
speed
no,
or
no.
anything,
It
but
didn't
they
say
all have their
100
brake
and-
lights on. Semi-trucks can't go 93. He's going the same speed, so I don't know where that speed mile an hour is coming from.
He sent it on a
I
group
understand,
chat about his own
But
car.
common sense would say that truck isn't going 103 miles an hour.
What truck?
The semi-truck on the right of him that's going the same speed as him.
Are you making an excuse
I-
for that?
You can look at the
Yeah, just
video.
a
If you
second.
think that's accurate, then that's fine, but...
I'm just looking at
I understand.
how he's going, weaving in between cars. You think that that's reasonable?
No.
Do you know that when I am on a parkway and I see a moron like that weaving in between cars, all I say is, I hope they kill themselves alone and don't take anybody else with them. He shouldn't have a car. He shouldn't be driving a car. You shouldn't be stealing the keys to a car. So it's going to cost you $7,000 or $6,000 to fix the car?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I paid.
she's going to pay $1,000 for stealing it. You're going to pay the rest. Got it?
Got it.
Perfect. That's what happens. Because unfortunately, morons like you usually don't go alone. They usually take a family of 4 with them. So this one's going to cost you. You understand?
Yeah, I don't care.
You don't mind that, do you? Perfect.
Yeah.
Judgment for the plaintiff. Costs you $1,000 to take a joyride. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I think it's unfair. She stole a car and broke it.
It was a good decision. I did apologize, and I accept I did what I did was wrong.
When the car broke down, the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree. The sounds were loud and clanky.
He even drove to Ventura for 2 hours after that and was speeding the whole way there.
There's only the one video of me speeding, and it's inaccurate.
Like, I didn't think of it as stealing. I thought it was like a joke. I didn't really mean to like steal it or anything.
It's good, running, no problems, nothing. The mechanics did a great job fixing it.
Well, I'm obviously not gonna do it again.
Keep it under 50.
I thought it was ridiculous. It was funny to me.
Do you know how furious I get, Sarah, when I'm driving on a parkway? And I don't drive myself on a parkway anymore. I just don't have the
Reaction time.
That's bad. I don't have the reaction times that I did, and I feel a little tenuous. I like to drive in local streets where I know where I'm going. But when I'm on a parkway and I see these cars weaving in and out, speed limit is 55, so you're going 75 or you're going 80, but you're weaving in and out. You're coming up on cars, they don't know that you're there.
I know that you hate that. I know that you do.
Because, you know, when you
It tenses everybody else up.
when you
Everybody
pick
else
up a
gets
newspaper
nervous.
and you see what can happen.
Yeah.
Car can flip over if you're going too fast. Somebody could be fixing a tire on the side of the road. And I really just pray that if something happens, they go alone.
I know.
So this kid is bound for trouble. Yeah. The police pull me over now, and they only give me a speeding ticket for 60. Well, that means he's been pulled over for speeding numerous times because the police know who he is. I say to myself, I've been driving a very long time. And I'm not saying I've never speeded. 10 miles, maybe 8 miles over the speed limit. But I've never been stopped for speeding. Here's a kid who the police know by his first name.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Anyway.
Well, he slows down.
Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one in the back, one in the front.
Now try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
I had a
have
feeling
picture
you might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes,
It has a motor.
it's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to, crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel,
Yes,
not on the sidewalk.
right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay, Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk.
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through and about
Okay,
right.
is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's
About right here.
right there. That would be in the middle, right? That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first, only?
Both, first and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4, 4:30.
So it was light out.
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side.
The fender.
Fender.
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay. Not the front of the car.
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I
Okay.
cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonet.
Thank you.
Barry Cargill claims Joseph Simonet owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully
He was in
okay.
an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were
Could have been much
thankful
worse.
for his health and the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy?
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible,
Yes.
right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
Nope.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car, but it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars, and this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you, we're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, there really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. And this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was lucky.
Yeah.
Case 2124, McPherson versus Hall. All parties, please step forward.
Gerald McPherson is suing his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, for money she received during their relationship.
Mr. McPherson,
Yes.
how old are you, sir?
40.
What kind of work do you do?
Home care aid?
Independent, or do you work for a company?
Home care aid agency.
For an agency?
Yes.
How long have you been working for them?
About a year now, but I've been doing home care for about 3 years.
Prior to working for them the past year, and you're still working for them, is that right? Was there a period of time when you were unemployed?
Not more than maybe 3 weeks, but since I know Ms. Hall.
No, I don't want to know about Ms. Hall.
No, I'm telling you my employments that since I've lived in her residence, I've always worked. I worked at the zoo, Census Bureau.
Don't try to think ahead of me.
Okay.
There was a period of time in 2020, according to you, that you became homeless and were living in a shelter.
Yeah,
And that was in what month in 2020?
In June. So if I can explain the situation. I was living in a house that a slumlord wasn't doing the repairs. So I ended up forcing his hand, him selling the property, and the new landlord and my...
Could you look at me when you're talking?
I'm sorry. The new landlord and my other ex, they kept the property. I moved out. I went to a shelter because I didn't want nothing to do with her or the...
You're talking about her?
No, ma'am.
Well, then don't keep pointing to her. I'm asking you...
I'm just pointing in general. I'm not pointing at her.
You actually pointed to her. When you were in the shelter, were you employed?
Yes, for the Census Bureau, doing the census. I was actually out in the field knocking on doors. I was an enumerator.
So you were not working in home health care, you were a census taker?
At that time, yes.
And did you have a child living with you?
Yes, well, not in the shelter, no. I could not have my daughter in the shelter.
How old is your daughter?
10.
And where is her mother?
She's deceased.
Where was your daughter living when you were in the shelter?
With my mother.
Is she living with you now?
She's been with me since June.
In a new apartment?
Yes, I moved in August 1st.
She goes to school from your apartment?
Yes.
Okay. In 2020, you became acquainted with Miss Hall, and there came a time shortly thereafter, uncross your arms, and there came a point shortly thereafter when you moved into her home.
In August, yes.
Of 2020. And you remained in her home until what month and year?
August of 2022.
And in what month and year did you regain custody of your daughter?
June of 2022.
So there was a period of 2 months when you and your daughter lived in Miss Hall's home.
You could say that, but...
Well, I'm saying that because I just asked you a question about timeline.
No, because me and Ms. Hall was going through our dispute about this money, my daughter was staying with my grandma. I only brought my daughter there on certain occasions.
When I say you regained custody of your daughter, was that a court order?
Yes, I have it right here.
Just a second. Was the child removed by court order from your custody?
It was removed because the house...
Don't tell me because.
Yes,
it was yes.
Yes.
I have lots of things to do today.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Child was removed from your custody.
Because I didn't have nowhere to live at the time.
Was the child removed from your custody before you moved into the shelter?
She was removed because I was in the shelter.
Did you take her to the shelter?
No, I was not allowed to because there's no men.
So at that time,
female
did she go and live with your mother?
Of course.
Was that by court order?
No, it was
brought her to your mother.
Yes.
May I see the court order that
Thank you.
involves custody, please?
Here you go.
I'm not getting an answer.
This is the court order, and this is
Okay.
these two forms. Now, that court order
Thank
is
you.
the current.
Shh. Okay, so the child was placed with the Commission of Social Services in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And the child was placed in kinship foster care, which is a program that I am very familiar with the child's paternal grandmothers. So in June of this year, the child was returned to your custody. At some point in August of this year is when you and the defendants separated and you left the house. This is your claim. You won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing?
Gerald McPherson claims his ex-girlfriend, Natasha Hall, wrongfully spent the money he gave her for rent.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. What kind of gambling thing? I want you to look at me when you talk, not at the papers.
No, I was going to.
In what kind of gambling thing did you win money?
I betted on 25 games.
What 25 games?
NBA, college, hockey.
Okay, and you bet where?
On FanDuel. It's an app called FanDuel.
Okay, and you won?
Yes.
I don't
25
understand the whole thing. I don't want to learn the whole thing. I don't care about the whole thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Okay, $36,742, and after taxes, $26,889.
On what date?
So I won the bet on the 28th. It came into my account.
28th of what?
January.
Of what year?
This year.
And you had been living with Miss Hall for 2 years?
Prior, yes.
Okay, and you were working according to you all of that time?
Yes.
Okay, good. Were you paying any rent to Miss Hall?
I have receipts.
Yes, I want to see those. How much rent were you paying?
So when I met Miss Hall...
I don't want to go back to the year, Gimmel, sir. All I want you to do is tell me how much rent you were paying her.
To be honest, I had to pay
I don't know. I want you to
rent.
be dishonest with me.
Half her rent is like $425, and she had me pay half the gas and half the electric and half the cable.
Her rent was $425?
No, it's $850. I had to split it. We're
$850.
paying half and half.
Miss Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I do customer service.
And who else lives in the apartment with you?
My children.
How old are they?
14 and 13.
How large is the apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom.
And the total rent is $850?
Yes, ma'am.
There's no subsidy involved?
No subsidy at all.
Okay. And you have a lease?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you charge, if anything, Mr. McPherson as rent?
$425.
Well, that doesn't quite sound fair, does it? Did she make a figure with you of $425?
I paid more than that. I paid $425. That's half of the rent. I paid half of the electric and half of the internet bill.
There are 4 people in the house.
Yes.
Right? Why is he paying
we're
for?
only
Shh.
2 people.
Why was he paying for half the rent?
Oh, my children don't work, and his child didn't work either.
His child wasn't with you.
The child came with us in June, but she had visitations on weekends.
I don't care if she has visitations. Your children live with you.
Yes.
They don't have to work. They're your children. They're not his responsibility. Okay, I just want to know where everybody's head is at. There came a point, Miss Hall, when Mr. McPherson gave you $6,000 in cash.
No, not in cash.
Check.
No. Both of them was wired. One was directly wired into our Bank of America account.
When? Just a second. When?
The first transaction was on January 31st. The second transaction...
January 31st of?
This year. And the second transaction was the next day, February 1st. $12,000 total.
Do you acknowledge Miss Hall receiving $12,000 in your account from Mr. McPherson, or do I have to look at his records?
I do not acknowledge. He gave me $6,000 and $4,500.
$6,000 and $4,500, Mr. McPherson. Does that sound right?
No, it's not right, and I'm going to show you.
Let me see your bank record.
All right. Hey,
and
sir.
Let us assume that it's $6,000 and $4,500 that he gave you in this year, 2022.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. Let us assume for the moment that you're correct, because you're suing for $6,000.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, because the first initial $6,000 was 8 months rent. That I'm not.
Let us assume that you are correct, that he gave you $6,000 and $4,500. I'm taking you at face value. In January and February of 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the money for?
that he gave me?
Yes. The two different amounts of money.
Yes.
There's a 6,000 and a 4,500.
4,500 was for me to pay my car note off. And
Hey, just a second.
Go ahead.
Why would he pay your car note off?
He said he wanted to.
Oh, no. That's ridiculous. Ms. Hall, let me just check.
Can I say something?
No.
He even wrote that on there for your car note.
No, you said in January he won a bet and cashed it out. A few days later, he gave me money via Cash App to catch up on his rent and as a thank you for helping him out. I don't see anything here about gift for a car note in your answer.
So he gave me the money for the car note, and as far as the Cash App money, he gave me money lots of times. So yes,
No, I'm talking about the $6,000, madam.
Yes.
Let us assume he gave you $4,500 to pay off your car note. That's what you said.
Correct.
What's the $6,000 for?
The $6,000 was for us to move.
For who to move?
Me and him.
Show me.
The $6,000?
Yeah, show me that there's proof. He says he gave you the money according to his complaint to hold for him.
Yes.
Shh.
We
Just a second. Yeah, February 3rd, he gave you $6,000. This just says he gave it to you.
Yes.
And?
And he told me to hold it so we can move.
Well, you didn't move.
No,
you didn't.
moved.
Shh. He told you to hold it for him so that you could all move.
No.
So who could move?
So me and him and our children could move.
Well, that's what I just said.
I apologize.
So that we can move.
Correct.
But you didn't move together.
Correct.
So you have to give him his money back. That's simple.
Thank you.
Just a second. That's simple. If you say he gave you the money so that the two of you could move and that event never took place, but he in fact moved out, you owe him $6,000.
But then he agreed.
That's just a second. That's an easy. Okay. Do I have to deal with anything else? Money for lost wages, rent, utilities? Forget it. He paid all of that with the $4,500 when he paid off your car note. Come on, let's get it together. Lost wages. What are the lost wages for?
But then I had to take off from work because of the PFA, and I had to take off from work to go file out the court and things like that. But in the midst of him saying the $6,000, he didn't pay rent. He didn't pay all of his rent.
He paid off your car note. You owe him $6,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Okay.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I don't agree with the judge's decision. I don't think I owe him the money
That's what women do.
because he gave me a gift and he didn't pay rent.
I also spent $2,000 on her in gifts.
What's done is done.
I'm taking a break from women for quite some time now.
So I'm glad that the plaintiff's daughter didn't have to go into the larger foster care system and was able to stay with plaintiff's mother. But I was curious that if this was a temporary slip up and he wasn't going to be permanently without housing, why wouldn't he go with his daughter to his mother's house? I was surprised you didn't ask him that question.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. That's a curious question.
To me, it just seemed like it might have been a better situation to crash at your mom's house with your daughter
With
for
your
a while,
daughter.
but
I'm not sure whether I have that whole story because they continued the child in care for a period of time, at least for almost 2 years, because he didn't have custody of her while he was living with the defendant.
well, one easy part of the case was that he was owed his $6,000 back.
That
so
was
that's all
that
we
was
had to deal with.
Yeah, that was easy. Once she got her hands on that $6,000, and he was no longer in the picture, it was hard for her to give.
Kiana Hill is suing her former co-worker, Diamond Horton, for vandalizing her car and harassment while working together.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2141, Hill versus Horton.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Hill,
Yes, sir.
what's this man's name?
Claudius Brown.
You have a child with him
Yes, ma'am.
who's 10 years old.
Yes.
Is that your only child?
No, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
Is he the oldest?
She is the oldest.
She's the oldest.
Yes.
Does she see her father?
No.
Hasn't seen him in how long?
Months to a year.
The defendant has 2 children with him.
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
Well, he'll be 2 on the 9th, and then I have a 10-month-old.
And then, according to what I've read here in either the complaint or the answer, he has at least one other child.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is how old?
Probably about 7.
Does he see that child?
Every blue moon when she brings them.
So once in a while.
Yeah.
So he has 4 children altogether?
Yes, ma'am.
And you currently live with him?
Yes.
What does he do for a living?
He works at a warehouse.
And you?
But I'm a certified nurse assistant.
Who takes care of the kids?
Me and Claudius.
You work different shifts?
Yes, he works overnight. I work day shift.
So you're currently working?
Yes, ma'am.
But there came a time, I'm just trying to figure out why everybody's sort of mad and fighting over him. I don't understand it. There must be something that you ladies see that is hidden from me, because it is your claim, Miss Hill, that Miss Horton not only vandalized your car, but that she caused you to be fired from your job. She says that you filed a false restraining order against her and that actually you caused her to lose her job, and it's all over the prize, which I can never really understand. How long have you been working in your current job?
About 3 months now.
So you got another job?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you like it?
Yes.
Making about the same money or more?
A little less.
And where are you working?
I'm a machine operator.
So you got another job?
Yes.
Because all this started when all of a sudden you found yourselves working at the same place?
Yes.
And in what month was that?
That was, I started the job May 31st, but it spilled over into June is when everything took place.
And how long were you working at the same place?
3 months. I started March 4th of 2022.
Okay, so it was a short-term employment for both of you. And you were there first?
Yes, ma'am.
And you came shortly thereafter,
yes.
Shortly after she started to work. Had you ever met each other?
No.
Well, explain to me what the problem was.
So there's a history that started back in 2019 via text messages and Facebook. So we've had an ongoing beef for years.
Who cares? Now you're going to both get smarter. You're going to come here today and you're going to both get smarter. And if he has 2 children that he doesn't see, her daughter and your 7-year-old, according to what I hear that you see once every blue moon, that's a basket that I wouldn't be in. So you have a history of bad texting back and forth and stuff. I don't care about that. Let's get to the 2 allegations of, 1, that she vandalized your tires. When and what proof do you have that she vandalized your tires? This is after you both found yourself in the same working environment.
It wasn't my tires. She actually keyed my vehicle.
Keyed it?
Yes.
On what date?
On June 18th. And I have my police report from that.
Okay, I'll look at the police report. Did you see her key your car?
I did not see her, but I requested video footage from the job, and they stated that they would give me the video footage.
Do we have it?
We don't have it, but the city attorney was unable to receive it as well. But I have a letter from the city attorney.
You don't have it here for me, and you didn't see her key your car.
Yes.
What we're here for is a trial, so I need what proof you have that she keyed your car. I assume your car was at work.
Yes.
When it was keyed, okay? And I'm assuming that you don't like each other, that things got nasty, heated on social media, back and forth. I'm assuming all that is true. All I need for you to show me is proof that she keyed your car.
Well, I have audio recording from HR where they're stating that everything was initiated by the defendant. And Arkansas is a one-party state, so I can play the audio for you.
Oh, was she on the audio?
They're talking about the video in the recording and that they were supposed to give it to me.
Can't help you. Okay, this next part of your case is that she caused you to lose your job.
Yes.
Go.
So I have my termination letter stating that the defendant...
I'd like to see a termination letter.
That's a joke.
This is the description of the termination letter and description of the violation. Kiana has been involved in altercations with another employee. While the other employee instigated the situations, it has gotten to a point where multiple other staff are now involved. I don't know what that means. At this point, it is affecting patient care and causing a hostile work environment. Termination effective immediately. I assume that you have a similar letter because you were terminated. May I see it?
Yes. I also have a final warning.
Just a second. Okay. On Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, Diamond, that's you.
Yes, ma'am.
Was given a final written notice concerning harassment of other employees. It has since been reported that the harassment has continued. Also, multiple other staff have been pulled into this situation to the point that it's affecting patient care, and it's a termination letter. Okay. So I'm assuming since you got this, you were notified previously about having any communication with each other. You were not.
I was out for COVID. I had just got back to work June 15th of 2022. And I found out that Hill was working there. I never knew she was working there at all. And so I got called to the office.
Hill claims her former co-worker, Diamond Horton, harassed her at work and caused her to be fired. Diamond is countersuing for filing a false restraining order.
My question was a relatively simple one, because I'm going to make this as simple as possible before I probably dismiss both of them. I would like to see, after June 15th, 2022, up until the date of the termination, which is June 23rd, 2022, how the harassment continued. I would like you to show me from June 15th.
The actual date was June 14th.
Well, this says June 15th.
I wasn't working.
Shh.
This violation, my friends as well. And we have the date time stamp.
I just want you to show me after June 15th, between June 15th and June 23rd,
yes, ma'am,
what further acts that you allege are acts of harassment occurred.
I have the schedule showing the date.
Shh. Well, I don't know what this is.
A fake Facebook page that she made.
How do you know this is a fake Facebook page that she made?
That was a requested message that was sent to me after her and myself had a conversation, and she was threatening to beat me up. And it says, since you didn't apologize, D is going to beat you up.
Okay.
The D that they're referring to is Diamond.
Oh, my God. What is this?
The 870 number is her calling my phone.
Okay. And 870...
The missed calls.
This was on what date?
That was on June 19th.
What were you calling her for at 6 o'clock in the evening?
Well, the day she accused me of vandalizing her car is the day that we had worked together. She called the police and her family came up there and they all had guns. That's the reason she got terminated, because she brought a gun on the premises.
That's
and they
not
came
what my
up there
letter
to
states.
jump me.
That's a lie.
When I went outside,
I just want to ask you why you called her.
I called her to ask her because the June 16th is when I sat down. I had a conversation together to drop all beef. Like, no issue.
I don't want you. You want to say you can't control yourself. Understand, you're sending me a bad message. If you can't control yourself here, which is a very controlled setting, I'm going to say to myself, this is somebody who can't control themselves outside of the setting. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So I called her to ask her why did she feel like I vandalized her vehicle, because before that we sat down and we had a conversation together at work saying it should be dead, like why we should not have any beef over him at all, and that the kids were involved. And so we agreed to let it go. So then she accused me of vandalizing her vehicle.
What was the beef about? I don't understand.
The other baby mama is the reason why we're into it.
The 7-year-old's mother?
Yes.
Yeah. The 7-year-old's mother?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So we have no proof of vandalizing, and this is nonsense. You want to tell me about the restraining order that you filed?
There was an order of protection placed after she was harassing me at work.
May I see it?
Yes. But it was also rescinded.
By the way, does he pay child support for your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
He does. How much?
He pays probably about $239 every 2 weeks, somewhere around
Does he pay it to you?
Yes. Well, it's through child support.
But he pays it to you?
Yes.
And he's current?
Yes. Well, there's back pay, but he's currently paying.
Okay. So was there a hearing on this order of protection?
It was not.
There was
No,
not.
ma'am,
Did
there
you
was not a hearing.
Just a second. Did you appear?
No, I rescinded it.
I understand that. I just want to know the court found that the petition was dismissed.
It was a false accusation.
Okay. So the reason that the order states it was dismissed is that the petitioner doesn't meet the definition of family or household member as defined in whatever statute is, and therefore does not allege the existence of domestic abuse. Doesn't address the gravamen of the petition. It's a more procedural dismissal because she's not related to you in any way. I mean, having children with a person in common doesn't make you, at least in this jurisdiction, part of the household. Okay, you both look like nice ladies. You know, he has kids with 2 other people. Not a great track record.
He really don't see them because they don't let them. They don't want their kids around me.
There's a reason. You know, maybe. Not a great track record. It's not good for your children. It's really not good for your children. I mean, your children, believe it or not, your children are related to each other. I mean, you may not have any interest whatsoever, but when your children get older, they may have a curiosity about who their half-sibling is, what they look like, they alike. They may have interest. So I can suggest to you is your children didn't ask to be born. The idea that you exert any energy whatsoever, negative energy with regard to each other, is ridiculous. Really ridiculous. But for him, you wouldn't have any contact with each other. Am I reading that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Well, why? He hasn't been in your life in years. And I know that he shouldn't have been in your life at least for the last 7 years because he's got a 7-year-old with somebody else, right? And you have a 10-year-old. Mm-hmm. Goodbye, except for your daughter.
Mm-hmm. And could I state that the situation is not about him. It's about the harassment, the lost wages. That's more of my concern with her. It has nothing to do with him.
I was working before you. I was working at a job. You came to my job.
Just a second. What I'm telling you is, right now, and I don't have to get into it any further, right now, she's got the guy.
I don't care.
Just a second. Right now, she's got the guy. So that would perhaps give rise to some animus on your part. With regard to her position, he's working and he's paying money to your child, which is, in her mind, taking money away from her 2 children that she has with him. Well, that's his responsibility. You knew about that child and you knew about the 7-year-old. Mm-hmm. So what I'm telling you is there's a lot of negative energy going on. You both got jobs relatively soon after this. It was probably not a good idea for you to stay in the same place. And your employer was absolutely right and actually quite brave in today's times to say, we're terminating both of you because your job is affecting patient care. Because it's not only the 2 of you, other employees have been drawn into this drama.
That's because she brought them in.
I don't know whether she brought them in or not, and I don't care whether she brought them in.
And later today, a Hill claims her former co-worker, Diamond Horton, harassed her at work and caused her to be fired. Diamond is countersuing for filing a false restraining order.
Now, of all the places that you have to work, you had to work in a place where she was working.
I didn't know she worked there.
And she didn't know that you were there.
She did on the first day that I started, and she told everyone who I was and what the situation was.
I was out for COVID.
Okay, who cares? Anyway, cases are dismissed. Goodbye, good luck.
This court is adjourned.
I feel like the judge, she made the right decision.
She didn't listen.
Because I'm with her baby's father, which is now my baby's father.
He had nothing to do with this situation.
I just want to be there for my kids.
You know, to his credit, he's paying support.
Sure. Has a job.
Has a job. And I don't know why these 2 women feud when, according to plaintiff, she has no interest in him anymore.
And she's getting support.
She's getting support. I just don't understand. There are so many things that life has that present obstacles. Why fight over a guy?
There's many good causes you could get behind and fight for. Let's choose one of those.
Yeah, right.
Case number 2149, Goodwin versus Philpott. All parties, please step forward.
Manuelita Goodwin is suing wedding planner Kayla Philpott for repayment of items purchased for Kayla's wedding.
Miss Philpott, how long have you known Miss Goodwin?
Since I was a child. I don't remember much of her when I was a child, but she remembers me as a baby.
Well, I don't know what she remembers. You were getting married. When? What was the date of the wedding?
May 6, 2021.
Where was the wedding supposed to be held?
It was going to be held in Turlock.
Is that a wedding venue?
Yes.
How many people were coming?
It ended up being around 25 people. It was kind of small.
How many people did you invite?
60.
But 25 came.
Yeah.
It was during the height of COVID. Tell me, when you contacted Miss Goodwin, you contacted her because you knew she was a wedding planner, right?
Yes.
And when did you contact her?
I believe I contacted her in January.
And at the time you contacted her, had you made any wedding plans at all?
Very little.
Okay. During the course of your wedding planning, she said she would help you.
Yes.
Prior to January 2021, when you contacted her, when was the last time you saw her?
I can't even remember.
Well, was it in 2020?
No.
2019?
No.
So you hadn't seen her in at least 2 or 3 years?
Yes.
How many times in that 2 or 3 year period did you communicate with her by text or by phone?
Never.
So the reason that you called her in January of 2021 was to assist you with your wedding?
Yes.
And she did?
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yes.
She said she laid out a whole bunch of money for you in planning your wedding and purchasing things for your wedding, and she wants to be reimbursed for that. So When you called and asked her to help plan your wedding, what did you ask her to do for you?
I asked her to help me because I really didn't have a sense of direction of what to do for a wedding. And I asked her if she would pay for a decoration. And then I told her that I was getting my tax return and that I'd pay her for the decoration. And we started with that.
Started with that. How much money in total did you pay Miss Goodwin for her work in planning your wedding?
I paid her $50.
Well, don't you think that's ridiculous? It is ridiculous, right? You called her and engaged her to be a wedding planner for your wedding. She wasn't your best friend. She wasn't even a close friend. You hadn't spoken to her or seen her in years. So clearly you called her to do a job for you that was her profession, her vocation. And in addition to doing that, she bought you your wedding dress.
Yes.
How much was your wedding dress?
I ended up, we got a few dresses. The first one didn't work out, and I believe that one was $200. And then
who paid for that one?
She did.
So the first one didn't work out. That was $200.
Yes.
And it didn't work out. Why?
I didn't like the fit on it.
Didn't like it. Okay, but you bought it. Well,
Yeah.
she bought it.
Yes.
And where is that dress now?
I gave it back, and we ended up returning it.
Okay, so you got your money back.
Yes.
Oh, great. Strike that out. And what about the next dress?
The next dress, it was from Amazon, and we didn't like the fit either, so we ended up returning that one. And that one was...
Who ordered that dress? You or the plaintiff?
I believe it was me.
Okay, and what did you finally end up with?
I ended up getting a dress from David's Bridal that I really liked.
How much was that?
I believe it was $500.
Who paid for that?
She did.
So far you've paid $50 for her services, and so far, at least what I know, just for one dress, it was $500. Don't you think you owe her compensation for her work?
Well, she told me that, she was really, really generous. She was giving, I did a lot of stuff, and I believe that I don't owe her because she offered to do it.
It sounds stupid to you. Okay, I know, it sounds stupid to you. How much did you lay out for her wedding? In the receipts that you have for me, how much did you lay out for her wedding?
$32,87.95.
And when you asked her to be reimbursed for that money, what did she tell you?
That she was going to pay some of it when she received her tax returns, actually her wife's tax returns, and also she was working overtime to pay me back. She also stated that she was going to be getting a judgment from a State Farm check that she would be making payments, and she did pay the $50 after she made a payment arrangement with me to pay $200 a month back, and she did make the first payment of $50, and from that point she didn't make any additional payments. So we did work together, Your Honor, to try to sell the items that were at her sister's home. I requested both Kayla and her wife at the time to sell the items. They were sitting in her sister's garage in Stockton, where I do not live. I did come down for 2 weeks to try to help sell those items.
Were any of those items sold?
Yes, they
Did
were.
you get any money back from
I
those?
did.
How much?
$106, and then I had to pay for shipping for those items.
How much did you pay for shipping?
$75. And the rest of the items are still in her sister's possession.
Okay, $32.26. How much did you pay for your wedding other than the plaintiff's participation?
$8,000.
Did you pay that?
My mom paid for the venue, and then I paid for the other things.
How much was the venue?
$4,000.
So you paid $4,000, you personally, and what about your wife?
Well, we share an account, so it was from both of us.
What about her $3,200? Just don't have it. Just didn't pay it. Okay, anything else, Ms. Goodwin?
No.
$32.26, judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
She told me that a lot of the stuff was gifts.
I don't have any more wedding woes.
She did a great job with the wedding.
She thought it was a gift.
She's really, really gifted at that.
Never gonna loan money to her again.
That was a relatively easy case. I think even the defendant acknowledged, besides just relying on the goodwill of the plaintiff, she had no real excuse to not pay her back. And
Robin Slagle is suing her customer, Jack McCurcheon, for tuition and administrative fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2126, Slagle versus McCurcheon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You run a school.
Yes, ma'am. It's a program.
Is it a school or a program?
It's a program.
What's the difference?
The program is not a school where the children come every day. They come twice a week. Parents?
They come twice a week online.
No, we are
in person.
In person, yes.
Okay, so twice a week they are there at a brick and mortar place.
Yes.
And how long have you had this program?
We actually started this program during the lockdown in 2020 spring. So this is at the end of our first semester of our third year.
Okay, and tell me, who runs the program?
I do.
You have an educational background?
I do. I have a master's in education.
Does anybody run the program with you?
I have a staff, but I'm the sole director.
Is this an annual program?
We do operate on a semesterly basis as far as payments, but the classes just roll over from first semester to second semester.
And is there a contract?
Yes.
Okay, and you're going to show me the contract that the defendant signed on behalf of his son?
Yes.
Because that's what this case is about.
Yes.
The only interesting part of the case is your son was enrolled in the program. He was terminated from the program for, let's say, misconduct.
That's true.
And it was misconduct that was replicated in violation of the rules at least 3 times.
Kind of.
Not kind of, at least 3 times that you acknowledge.
Okay.
That's not an okay. That's not an okay.
Not.
That's either a yes or a no. I mean, I read about 3 instances of cheating. You acknowledge that in your answer.
Well, it's different. It's different.
You mean he cheated differently?
No, he didn't cheat
Yes, well, that's what-
differently. I mean, I can explain.
It was explained in the papers.
Okay.
And you weren't there, so you can't explain. But you acknowledge the fact that he cheated. He was given a warning. You were advised. He cheated again. You were given a warning, and he was allowed to continue. On the 3rd such event, the school terminated him. Is that what I read?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you acknowledge in your papers?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, that's a yes. And he was within a semester. You would pay the tuition and then try to reverse the payment because you paid on a credit card.
Yes, I paid with credit card, yes.
Okay, and then when you got the bill, you challenged that payment, which you had in fact received, and whatever you told the credit card company as a result of what you told them, the payment was reversed and taken off your credit card.
That is correct.
Right. And so they are here now seeking that tuition payment from a court. That's why we're here, to see whether contractually, because this is a breach of contract action, you were obligated to pay the tuition even though your son was not in the program because he was dismissed for cause, which you acknowledge. Are we clear on where we are?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So now I'm going to look at the contract.
I'd like to add that...
Just let me look at the contract first.
Well, if you see contract, they're signed by my party. I want to see it too, because I don't see my name. I sign a contract. That's a statement, probably, or it's a...
It's a payment agreement.
Yeah, that's not a contract.
Yeah, payment agreement is a contract, sir.
But signed by me?
Well, it says signed, Arena and Jack.
Okay.
Is Arena your wife?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. So this says, I understand that payments are due even if classes or memberships are dropped, subject to the refund policy. Well, what's the refund policy, and where is that in writing?
It is on our website, and they've signed it. It was a form that they had to sign.
Well, I'd like to see the form that they signed, because I have to see what the terms are of that.
These are the terms of the refund.
Thank you.
That's a screenshot of our website.
Now, the website is unimportant to me. You say you have an agreement signed by them. I'd like to see it.
Well, the agreement that we have signed was the installment agreement, so I'm sorry.
Well, I only have one payment agreement. What I said I want to see is a refund policy. You said you have that they signed. I don't see
They don't sign the policy. They sign the agreement. The policy is a written policy.
Well, I would like to see the written policy.
That's what we have on our website, and it's clearly...
No.
No? Okay.
Now, what you have to do is you have to incorporate something by agreement in this contract. If you say the refund policy as outlined in the website, because other than that, it's meaningless.
Okay.
You know, you're saying we have a refund policy, and we assume that you looked on the website to see what the policy is.
We also do go over it in parent meetings with the parents.
That you can't do because you have a written agreement.
Right.
And anything that's outside of that agreement, unless it's referenced in the agreement is inadmissible because the intention of it is to somehow change or modify the terms of your written contract. Okay, so in what month did the defendant's son start the program?
In August of 2021.
And it runs in 2 semesters. And when was he terminated?
He was terminated in February of 2022.
You were in a semester program?
Yes.
So am I correct that the first 2 episodes of cheating were in the first semester?
Yes.
When?
The first one was early in November. It happened to be the 3rd week of our 2nd semester. The next one was a couple of weeks later in the same month of November.
Okay, so the semester had started?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Semester.
Yes. And on what day in February was he terminated?
He was terminated on February 24th, I believe. Yes.
And when you terminated, the defendant, I assume, paid the entire semester's tuition for the 2nd semester.
The 2nd semester, he signed the installment agreement, which is what you have there.
This is a payment agreement.
Right. That's it. He agreed to pay in installments.
No. It says, I agree to pay all charges by due dates according to the payment plan. I don't have a signed payment plan from anybody. Do you have one?
I'm sorry, that's what we use for our signed payment plan.
Well, you should use something different. This is not a payment plan. This says he will pay according to a payment plan. I'm looking for the payment plan. You pay by the month, you pay by the semester. How do you pay?
It's a semesterly fee that's broken into 4 payments, so they don't have to pay it all up front.
Okay.
They can choose to. But
And so when was the defendant's last payment?
they paid through the semester.
Through what semester?
2nd semester.
Okay, so they paid in full.
Through the installment. So what happens is they agree to be automatically billed. And so every month, a certain amount comes out.
Just a second. So what you're saying is when they sign up, they give you authority to pull out from their bank.
Yes.
Whatever the tuition is for that month.
Right.
Okay. And according to your records, when was the last payment that you received for the defendant's son prior to terminating him?
Prior to terminating him, we received a payment in February.
And you terminated him on February 24th?
Yes.
How much was that payment?
It was, have it right here. You know what? I don't know.
$350 every
It was
month.
$300, that's right. $350.
I know, I got charged the extra month, so I know the number.
Okay, so it was $350 that you paid the beginning of February, and he was there in February.
That is correct.
Okay. In what month did you dispute the charge?
Well,
No, not well. I said, in what month?
May. I only realized in May she's been charging.
Just a second.
Claims her customer, Jack McCurcheon, owes for tuition and administrative fees.
So you paid in February, and your son was there in February.
That is correct.
Did you pay in March?
It was taken out of my account without me knowing, but yes.
Is that $350?
That is correct.
And did you pay in April?
I did pay in April.
Okay. Now, the May payment, is the May payment the payment that you canceled?
No, on the May, I also paid for a May payment. Looking at my statements, I said, why are we paying for the child? He doesn't go to school anymore. And that's when I called them. And then I called my credit card company, explained to what happened. They said, we are going to charge the money back to your account. And that's when I kind of looked through paperwork. And I'm an immigrant in this country. I don't read really well. I can speak. And my son, he's a young guy, and he knows exactly what it is. And that's what I brought him. I said, can you see, do we owe these people money? And if you guys allow it, I can have Alex to explain what here shows.
Just see it. He doesn't have to explain anything to me.
Okay.
I'm not new to the country, and I was legally trained, so I don't need your son. I assume you're not legally trained?
I am not.
To interpret something, a piece of paper. So now I will look at the piece of paper that you're relying on, but I want to tell you this, sir. I pay the tuition for a lot of people, a lot, because I have 13 grandchildren in school.
Okay.
I'll take that, Kevin. Thank you, I'm sorry. I know that if one of my kids or grandkids goes to school and gets expelled, and I've paid the tuition because I'm not on a payment plan. Parents send the bill directly. and so I pay the tuition, but I know if one of the kids in November, once I pay the tuition, gets caught cheating on a test or plagiarizing a paper, and he or she is dismissed from the school, they're not going to give me my tuition back, even though he's not in school. I'm not going to get the tuition back for that semester.
That's true.
That's what I'm telling you. I know that. So now I'm going to see what you want me to read that suggests that in this case, even though your son was terminated for cause from the school for cheating.
Dismissal versus termination is different.
No, it's not different at all. It's this exact same thing. Dismissed, terminated, expelled, all the same thing. If you look them up under synonyms for each other in the dictionary, you will find they're all the same. He was excised from the school because he cheated despite multiple warnings. So he was expelled from cause. I just want you to understand that. Did you go to college?
Currently enrolled.
Currently. Stand up. You look like a nice young man. Where do you go to school?
Cal Poly Pomona.
And who pays the tuition?
I do.
Now, what's your first name?
Alex.
Now, Alex, you do know that if you got expelled from college for cheating in the middle of a semester, you wouldn't get your tuition back for that semester. You do know that?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Well, that's what we're dealing with
Could
here.
I add something?
Sure.
Well, according to their honesty policy, they made a clear difference between dismissal and expulsion.
I'm going to look at it. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what you gave me now acknowledges that you received the refund policy. Thank you very much, because she wasn't able to prove that she gave it to you, but now you gave it to me, so I know you were given the refund policy when you enrolled your son in school.
So we weren't given, but it's something they have it on their website for you to.
Just a second. Well, then you look. You don't have to sign. Then you looked at the website. You gave me this. Do you understand?
After
That's what
this
I mean.
happened,
Legal.
I went and tried to understand.
Well,
what
you should have
happened.
done it before.
Well,
you were
I own a
perfectly
construction
capable of
company.
doing it
When
before.
I sign a contract, I sign and I explain everything.
You
and
just
people
told
get
me
copies.
5 minutes ago that you didn't sign any contract. Well, now you acknowledge that you signed the contract. I'm just reading this that you gave me.
A contract has to be a complete contract. If there
Just a
is
second.
something.
For somebody who's, not here, not from this country, and doesn't understand things, you seem to understand things very well.
I know the contract has to be completed.
Well, that's very good. A lot of people don't know that.
So if I give a contract for a statement, then I say, go in my website to read about our refund policy. That's not part of the contract. That's their rules, no? I didn't sign refund policy.
You don't have to sign a refund policy. You just have to be aware of it.
If I don't know how to get into website or don't know.
You gave me the evidence.
But this was done after everything done. I
I'm
looked
not
into
sure.
it. Okay?
You were certainly aware of how to do it, either before or after.
When I sign contract with someone, I disclose everything, and they initial, and they get copies. I get copies, and that's a legal bonding contract.
Good. What law school did you go to?
None.
Well, there are two things here, but the final piece here says the consequence for academic dishonesty or plagiarism is a score of 0 on the assignment and possibly dismissal from the class.
Okay.
So your son did that in the first semester at least twice. Repeated dishonesty can result in suspension or expulsion. Now you can stand up because your father says he doesn't understand everything. I think he understands everything just fine. But in case he wants to have you there. Now, when you were discussing this with your father, did you have any conversation with him that suggested to him that, if I went to college and I cheated 3 times or 4 times or plagiarized a paper and I was kicked out of school, I wouldn't get my tuition back? Did you tell him that?
No, we had similar talks, but no, nothing on the school. We talked about, for instance, the signing contract for, let's say, a 1-year lease agreement to live somewhere, but if you breach the contract and they decide to kick you out, it's the same thing as expulsion. You're not required to finish the 1-year contract with them. You don't have to continue paying.
If they decide.
What are you kidding?
I am not. If you get evicted from a property, do you have to continue paying the entire year's lease?
Yeah. If you breach a lease, he or she can evict you. And yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
Yes, you will be responsible for the remainder of the lease. You have to understand, and your father has to understand, the reason that he was expelled is his fault. And the reason he was expelled had nothing to do with them. It had to do with your father, because you were put on notice that he was plagiarizing and cheating on tests.
Slagle has accused her customer, Jack McCurshan, of refusing to pay tuition. Jack claims he is not required to pay because his son was dismissed from her school.
You were put on notice, and instead of being more vigilant, the conduct continued. He lives in your house. How old is he?
14.
14. Well,
I want to ask about this plagiarizing thing, which it is, because remember, beginning you asked me 3 times, he was plagiarized by teachers, which I was not.
He was plagiarized by teachers.
Like he was given notice because he lied on a test by teacher, yeah? But it's not exactly what happened.
Well, then you should have, just a second, then you should have contested it, sir.
Well,
you should have contested it. Did you say?
If they don't want him to be out of the school, they don't want him to be there.
No.
What do you do? I mean, you go fight with them?
What do you do? You pay the tuition for that semester because that's your contractual obligation, and you tell your son, you better straighten up, and if I have to take you to a psychiatrist, if I have to take you to a therapist, if I have to find a more rigid school environment, I'm going to do that.
Well, he really didn't cheat.
You really have to get this through your head.
When he says cheating, last time he was expelled from school. Do we have a...
No, don't look at her.
That day he had an excellent score on his math, and his last test was his history, and he forgot to learn the history, and he did have a paper with him, but he did not cheat it. Actually, there is no proof he cheated that day.
All right. They're not in the business of expelling children. They're in the business of keeping children in school. How many other students were expelled from the school the semester that this defendant's son was expelled?
0.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're in business of keeping children in school.
I guess my son was that bad for her to expel her.
She said they didn't expel any other children. I'm going to ask her, how many children were enrolled in the program at the same time the defendant's son was enrolled in the program?
Approximately 70, 75.
Okay, and of the 70 to 75 students, the only student expelled was the defendant's son.
Yes, ma'am.
That should tell you something, sir. Stop making excuses. Okay. I didn't tell you, he didn't look at the paper, he had it underneath him, but he didn't look at it. Well, plagiarizing, so he copied from somebody on a paper that was supposed to be original work, did it once, he did it twice. Do you understand your son has a problem?
Well, we all have problems.
No, I never had a problem being expelled from school, sir, for cheating. I never had a problem being expelled from school for cheating.
I have lied.
I have 5 children and 13 grandchildren. All have completed college, some professional school. None of them have ever been expelled for cheating. That's a lot of people.
Do you feel it's fair to expel a child from a school because of
cheating?
Cheating?
Absolutely. Not that I usually let people ask me questions, but the answer is absolutely. Because if 70 children are working hard to get good grades and studying and creating original works when they're supposed to create original works, and your son who's getting a 99 on a math test when he's been getting low scores on tests all of a sudden becomes a shining star one day, and it's a pattern, and then they find another cheat sheet under his bottom. That's something that suggests to the other 70 students that are trying to do the right thing, that it's okay to cheat. And so if you want to cheat on this test to get a 99, it's okay. You can't run a school where you permit kids to mingle with kids who are trying with kids who are cheating. So do I think it's fair? Absolutely. Okay, how much money was reversed by this bank?
$1,050 plus $45, a $15 fee per transaction.
$1,095. Okay, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,095. Sir, your problem is not with the plaintiff. Your problem's with your son.
He's like all of us. He made a mistake. And
no, he didn't make one mistake. I'm going to tell you something. Honestly, I used to say when I was practicing in a different court that if criminals got caught the first time or every time that they committed a crime, they'd stop committing crimes. Problem is, they commit a crime and they don't get caught. And then they commit another crime and they don't get caught. Then they commit third crime and they get caught and they're brought to court. And their lawyer argues this is their first arrest. Not their first crime, because they can't argue that, but it's a first arrest. So if what you're suggesting is the 3 times that your son was caught cheating were the only times he cheated, you're deluding yourself. He got caught 3 times. Because if these were the only 3 times that he cheated, he is the unluckiest person on the planet. Okay, we're done here. 1095, judgment for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I felt the difference was between the wording, what it means as far as being expelled versus being like sent home.
I'm extremely pleased. This was totally a matter of honesty and integrity. And obviously it stems from the father down to the son.
But he explained that's the same word. And again, that's why you come to court, and she did what she had to do.
We have kids that try to cross the line, come close to that line. But as I mentioned, our instructors are pretty savvy and they're on it, and we can tell pretty much. So
I am happy finally done. It's been a burden, it's been a stress, and hopefully it's done.
Cheaters never win.
So I think it's really important for the plaintiffs, as the runners of a homeschooling system or a schooling system, to have a better contract for the parents that are signing, especially with a payment plan option. There should be exhibits attached to the signature page, not just referencing, oh, we're agreeing that we read the policy from the website. It's just as easy for you to reprint it, attach it, and require a signature, an initial on the bottom, so that you don't have parents like these that say, I never went to the website, I never saw it.
I agree with you.
If you have problems like this, there's no denying the fact that you initialed each page and each policy.
I think that it's a learning experience because they just started the program in 2020. And this is probably the first experience that they've had because he's the first never expelled anybody else. But they'll clean up the contract.
And Monica Tway are suing their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, for property damage, unpaid rent, and a bathtub.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2154, Hellerman, Tway versus Antonucci.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Antonucci, the plaintiff, Miss Hellerman, gave you a job.
Yes.
When?
It was probably February of 2021.
And where had you worked prior to that?
I just worked for myself.
Worked for yourself doing the same?
Cleaning.
Cleaning?
Yes, and I worked for Rite Aid as assistant manager.
And your husband was in prison?
For a year last year.
He was in prison on a 2 to 10 year sentence, correct?
A rider. It's called the rider program, and it's about a 1-year program.
You were convicted in the state of Idaho for what, sir, and when?
It was 2012 was a 3rd DUI.
Mm-hmm. And at that time, you were sentenced to 2 to 10 years.
Oh, correct. Yes, my apologies.
I just read it online, sir. Yeah. It's not a secret. It's out there. So you were sentenced from 2 to 12 with a minimum of 2 years. And the rest of the sentence, you were supposed to be on probation.
Correct.
You violated the probation and you were sent back to prison.
Correct.
And that decision, violating your probation, you appealed.
Correct.
And the appellate court, the highest court in the state of Idaho, affirmed the lower court decision violating your parole.
Probation, yes, correct.
Your probation. And that was just 6 months ago.
No, it was...
February of 2022 is when the opinion was published. Does that sound right?
Yes, the response to that, yes, correct.
Yes. So what was your release date from jail?
It was January 11th.
Just a second, don't answer for him.
January 11th, yeah.
January 11th of 2022.
Correct.
Now, you had been working for the plaintiff while he was incarcerated, Miss Antonucci, without incident. That be a fair statement? You were happy with them?
I wasn't getting paid enough, but yes.
Nobody's ever getting paid enough. Even I don't get paid enough.
Right.
Everybody thinks they're worth more than they're getting.
Right.
You didn't quit. You didn't complain. Now, at some point, when your husband got out of jail, there was a question about where you were going to live. Were you living in the property in question before he got out of jail?
No.
No. So he was getting out of jail. Where were you living while he was in jail?
I was in Donnelly, Idaho, in our motorhome.
Is there a reason that when he got out of jail, he couldn't go to the motorhome with you?
He did.
And then you tell me how you ended up in their property.
Shauna and Joel took us to dinner, and...
They took you to dinner for what reason?
I don't know, just to take us to dinner.
Well, that was nice.
Yes, it was nice.
Very nice. So far you're working for people that you seem to like. Your husband is incarcerated. He gets out of jail. I assume you told him he was getting out of jail, that that's why he was around now. I assume you told him that he had been in prison.
Yes.
Okay. And they didn't hold that against him. They invited you out for dinner.
Yes.
Tell me how the conversation came up about a new place to live.
We were just talking about moving to Adams County.
Why?
It's just a better situation.
Oh, just a second. Was he required to be in a particular county for his probation?
No.
Now, was he required to live in that county?
No, he's not, unless he puts in a request to move. And that was approved.
Well, is there any reason why you put in a request to move after he was released from prison?
Yes, because they offered to talk to Monica about a house that was coming up for rent in Adams County.
Just a second. Who knew about a house? Did you know about a house that was coming up for rent?
No.
Yeah, I'm not getting a sense of forthcoming answers from you. You have somebody who cleans for you, whose husband has been incarcerated, who hasn't been living in any of your property. Now he's coming out of jail, and I want you to tell me how the discussion of a place to live came up. You're out to dinner.
Yes, we invited him out to dinner. We were excited to meet him. They had mentioned they had put in for a change of probation officers.
So he put in a request for a new probation officer.
Yes.
But for the fact that you told them, they would have no way of knowing that you had to move from one place to another. You had to have told them you put in a request to move.
We were just looking for a place to live.
You approached them and said, do you have a place for us?
No, I did not say that.
Well, then, how did it come about?
Kellerman and Monica Tway are accusing their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, of not paying rent and stealing a tub.
We were friends, and they invited us out to dinner.
Just a
Shauna
sec.
and I were friends.
That's
yes.
you. So
and
this is somebody who's a friend
yes,
of yours.
And I did not. I cleaned her house very randomly, but I'm with subcontractor. I was not an employee. In fact, I called myself an employee of hers once, and she said, "You're not an employee. You're my friend. You're a subcontractor." So we were at dinner, and we were saying that we were wanting to look for a place to live, and Joel said, "Oh, well, there's a place in Adams County that Monica just bought. I'll talk to her about you guys moving in there." That's how we came to know about that place.
Great.
And we were fine with living in our motorhome, but it would be nice to have more room, so we were excited about that. That's how we found out about it.
You found out about it because you needed a place to live, that you were moving.
We didn't, well...
That's according to your husband.
As a general contractor, trying to find housing, one of my ideas was, well, let's rent a house, let's rent a place. I need space because I have trailers, I have a flatbed, I have a cargo trailer, I have the 2 vehicles and the Harley. I need a garage, I need a shop. I need to, expand. That's the sole reason for finding a different place. And also trying to save money to buy a home and recover and do all these things, build my business, so forth.
Ultimately, you moved out. There was sort of acrimony at the end of your moving out, but I'm going to take one thing at a time. They say that when you moved out, you took a claw bathtub. I know what those are. They're sort of a decorative old piece. I've had them, they sometimes use them now when they renovate houses and put modern stuff around this claw bathtub. Did you take the bathtub? The answer was either yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course. You say you took it in the answer. Did you have permission to take it?
Yes.
Yes.
Who gave you permission?
Monica.
Monica, did you give them permission to take it?
Absolutely not. I did not give them permission to take it.
So now I want one of you to tell me when the conversation took place, where it took place, and who was present. One of you is going to talk to me.
When we were about to move in and doing the walk through the residence.
No, just not moving out. You were going to move in, and you moved into the residence in February of 2021? What month?
No, we moved in April.
April of 2022. And you moved out when?
August 21st of 2022, of course.
Okay, so what you're saying, Antonucci, is that in April, now you're going to tell me a story, in April you were walking through the premises with the owner.
I was going to do some work on the place too before we moved in, and when we moved in as some of the trade, or I would bill them at a discounted rate. And there was supposed to be a fireplace, a wood stove. Well, really the main reason why I moved into this place was it had a wood stove. The electricity is so hot.
Listen to me.
Go into the house.
I don't care. Bathtub.
Okay.
I don't care about a fireplace. I care about a bathtub.
Okay. Discussion comes out about the bathtub. She says she's not going to plumb it in. She says if you guys want the tub, you can keep it. You can plumb it in if you want, but I'm not going to plumb it in and deal with it.
Okay, so she said to you she had this bathtub there that she didn't want to plumb in. I assume that means connect.
Correct, because the
connect to water. Yeah. She didn't want to plumb it in. You can either use it if you want to plumb it in or not. That's what she said to you.
No.
No. Only him.
Have.
No, I didn't hear the word have. You want to read back what he said, please?
He says, discussion comes up about the bathtub. She says, I'm not going to plumb this thing in. She says, if you guys want the tub, you can keep it. You can plumb it in if you want. But I'm not going to plumb it in and deal with it.
You want to use it, you can use it.
Keep it. Keep it.
If you keep it, not keep it and take it away with you. You're moving in to her house. She said, this bathtub isn't connected to water. You can, if you want to, plumb it in, because according to you, she knew that you were in the construction business, and keep it, or not. But I'm not plumbing it in. And you viewed that 4 months later as saying, I can take the bathtub?
Yeah, there was more discussion about it.
No, let me hear the more discussion about it.
She didn't want the tub.
Just a second. That's a conclusion in your mind that she didn't want the tub. Based upon what you just said to me, if you're moving into a house, you're moving into a place, that statement that she made could not be construed in my mind as you can keep. It now belongs to you, the bathtub. You can either plumb it in or not. If you want to keep it, plumb it in. If you don't want to keep it, don't plumb it in. Okay, where's the bathtub?
And storage.
They get it back. 5 days.
She said she was going to haul.
5 days.
Thank you, Your Honor.
5. I'll give you an order. Is that all you have to contribute to this case?
Some other witnessing, but that's...
Then, as a witness, you can sit down. You're getting your bathtub back in 5 days.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Good. Now, let's talk about the next thing, which is damages to the duplex. So they moved in April. They paid rent in April?
Yes, they did.
They pay rent in May?
Yes, they did pay for May.
And June?
No, they have not completed their payment for June.
How much was their rent?
$1,200 a month.
How much did they pay in June?
They still have $80 owing, $30 in rent and a $50 late fee.
Okay, I'm not interested. About July?
Nothing.
Was there any rent in July?
No payments, no.
Did you live in the premises in July?
Yes.
You were evicted on 8/21. Up until the 21st of August, were you living in the premises?
Yes.
Did you pay rent in August?
No.
Okay. Now you want to tell me why you stopped paying rent in July?
Yes, on July 10th, there was a flood in the house.
July 10th, there was a flood in the house. From where?
We believe it was a spigot. No one ever told us where it came from.
Well, you're living there. They're not living there, right? You're living
upstairs
there.
Upstairs or...
I'm only going to listen to one person, not talking over each other. Is that you or your wife?
Me.
Fine. You're living there April, May, June. July, there's a leak. I'm living in a house. I know where the leak came. The leak comes from a refrigerator. It comes from a window. It comes from a ceiling. It comes from a something. Where did the leak come from?
I wasn't home for that. We came home to the flood. I came home to the flood at like 8:40.
Was it coming from the apartment above you?
No, it was not.
Where was it coming from?
Shauna Hellerman and Monica Tway claim their former tenants, Carl and Renee Antonucci, owe for unpaid rent and a bathtub. Carl and Renee are countersuing for property damage and loss of income.
Okay, was it coming from the apartment above you?
No, it was not.
Where was it coming from?
Apparently it was a broken plumbing pipe from the front spigot, leaked underneath the house and came up through the subfloor.
So there was a broken internal pipe, as far as you know. Now, your husband's in the construction business, he says. So when the flood happened, did you try to find the source of the flood?
I wasn't home, Your Honor.
Where were you?
I was at work.
Well, eventually, did you come home?
Yeah, I came home that evening real quick.
Well, that evening, did you try to find where the leak came from?
I had to get back to work. She was dealing with the cleanup. The water was turned off. and they were sending a plumber or something.
Okay. So
Monica said she would take care of it, so.
So they turned off the water, which is perfectly reasonable because the water is coming from an internal pipe that burst, right? And then what happened? I'm still trying to figure out why
They did not turn off the water until after I got home. I walked in. So I called Monica and I said, oh my God, there's water everywhere in the house. What's going on? She didn't know what was going on. So we were trying to figure out where to turn the water off at.
Okay,
so that's when the water
so
got
far,
turned off.
100% understand you. Got it. Came home, you found water, trying to find where it comes from. Finally, turned off the water. I'm still trying to figure out if you lived there in July, why weren't you paying rent?
We were behind on rent because I was working and he was trying to get his job situated down in Boise or wherever he could get contracts with his injuries.
So what you're telling me, that you didn't pay rent in July because you didn't have the money?
No, we did not have the money.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So other than the fact that you didn't have money, there was no reason why you didn't pay rent.
We were making payments whenever we could.
You paid no
that
payment
was
in
fine
July.
For Shauna.
You made
yes,
no
we did.
payment in July. No, in June you did.
In June we did. In July
June
we
you did not. Listen.
And as long as I was still working for them, that was fine when we were late or making payments to them.
Just a second. You made no payments in July and you made no payments in August. You had made payments in
I wasn't going to pay for August
May, and
when
June.
we had a flood.
I'm just telling you.
Yes.
I'm asking you a question. Is the reason you didn't pay your rent because you didn't have any money?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Then you owe them the rent, $2,400. You lived there. You ate the steak.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I'm not speaking to you. Listen, you're a tag-along on this whole thing. You understand that? I think these people were very nice to you.
I'm not
probably, I probably wouldn't have been as nice.
The house flooded. That's why I couldn't pay the rent.
I have all the
Just a-
pictures
just a
right
second.
It
here.
shut my business down. It shut my business down. That
It
house
ruined
flooded.
his briefcase.
My plans were ruined, my computers. There was 2 inches of water at 1,800 square feet of flood.
Yeah.
Monica says she's going to come over. Don't worry.
Mr. Antonucci, you can't talk over me, sir.
Apologies, but
You can't talk over me. I'm older than you are, and I've lived in many apartments. And believe me, I have been the cause of a flood, and I have been the recipient of floods from people around me. Usually, it's an accident. It usually is not an on purpose. Very few people turn on their bathtub and say, I'm going to let this bathtub overflow into my bottom neighbor's house. It's usually as a result of a broken pipe, which nobody can see, or an air conditioner plugs up and the pan overflows and the whatever they call it, the little water bug signal doesn't go blank, blank, so you don't even know that it's going off, and there's a flood. That's not somebody's fault. So now you have a flood that is nobody's fault, not yours, because you're the tenants. So clearly it wasn't your fault. Not something that they anticipated, not something that they were derelict in taking care of. So now, what did they do once the initial mess was cleaned up? How did they fix it? Did they fix the pipe?
We don't know. They never told us.
Refuse to give
they
any
said that a
information.
plumber came to the house. He left a hole in the ceiling, which I have a picture of.
Just a second. You lived there the whole month of July and into August. Did you have water? Just answer my question. You lived there the whole month of July after this happened and the majority of August. Did it flood again?
No, because
not a because. It didn't flood again. And what did the plaintiff do to remediate that? Did they put in fans and blowers?
They put in one fan, and then she finally brought 5 more over. So I had 6 fans in an 1,800 square foot house and 1 window that opened. We lived in the basement.
So they put in fans. You said they had put in one, and then
She
they
bought
brought
them,
up.
and I plugged them in and brought them and put them on and put them in the bedrooms. In the hallway, in the kitchen, living
Listen,
room.
I have a feeling that you're a victim in more ways than one. That's what you're supposed to do. You living there. They sent them over, you plugged them into the wall, that's what you're telling me?
And there's also a mold problem there.
$2,400. You owe them 2 months' rent. And the bathtub. Let's go for next. What damages to the duplex, Ms. Hellerman?
We had some drywall damages, a lot of garbage debris, large dump run.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. $2,400. And the bathtub. Now I'm going to get to your counterclaim. Money owed for loss of income, damage to a motorcycle, wrongful eviction. Well, you didn't pay your rent, so the wrongful eviction is out. Defamation. What's the defamation?
So Monica sent me a text when I quit working for her, and it said, thanks for dropping off the keys. I said, you're welcome. She goes, really? Thank you for giving me 1 day notice. No good deed, ... goes unpunished, and 3 days later we get an eviction notice on our door.
I want to know what the defamation is. What's the defamation? Nothing. Cross out defamation. Damage to my motorcycle.
Yeah, they laid gravel down in the driveway without notification, and you can't ride a 900-pound Harley through gravel. So his bike went down.
$2,400, judgment for the plaintiff, counterclaims dismissed. We're done here, and she's absolutely right. No good deed goes unpunished.
This court is adjourned.
She definitely got to the bottom of their character.
That house was a death trap.
We received a text with pictures of small puddles throughout the home on a concrete slab.
She didn't want to plumb the tub in. She said we could have it. If we want to use it, we could. If not, she's going to get rid of it. She's going to throw it away, take it to the dump.
I didn't ever tell them they could have the tub. I told them I was not going to install it at that time and that I had already arranged to have the tub removed. I was going to store it.
You know, I think what bothers me more than anything else about cases like that is that those were two nice people. The plaintiffs were two nice people.
Sure.
And they actually took a chance. They had an employee who was there for a year. Now she's got a husband who's recently released from whatever kind of prison he was in, but they welcomed him, they took him to dinner, they needed a new place to live, and then they leave the place a mess. They give them no notice. They just drop the keys and we're leaving, and don't pay rent for 2 months. And took property that he knew was valuable because they moved back to their motorhome, so they didn't need a clawed bathtub, which are expensive.
But they pay for that storage.
But they pay for the storage in order to keep it. So the plaintiff was right. No good deed goes unpunished.
True.
Jimmy Davis is suing motorist Micaiah Bigham for property damage to his house from a car accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2157, Davis versus Bigham.
Miss Bigham.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit Mr. Davis's house.
This is wall, retaining wall.
Wall.
Yes, ma'am.
You hit his wall.
Yes, ma'am.
With your car.
Yes, ma'am.
It damaged his wall. His wall didn't move. His wall didn't come up on you. And you were at home at the time.
No, ma'am, I was actually away.
Okay, so you didn't see what happened.
Did not visually witness the incident.
Okay.
Just the damage after.
Who did?
There were several neighbors. One of my neighbors called me.
You have no witnesses here today.
I do not have any witnesses with me today. They could not.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Thank you. Accident happened on September 22nd. Whose car were you driving?
It was my car. My dad bought it for me.
When?
Last year. Sometime.
What kind of car is it?
2012 Nissan Altima.
You have insurance on the car?
I have insurance.
Did you have insurance, and you're going to tell me with whom, because that you can check, on September 22nd of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
With whom?
Direct.
Okay, let me see that you had insurance. Do you have proof that you had insurance on the car?
Well, I have the policy.
Were you current on payments for the policy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you had insurance. I'm just wondering why your insurance didn't cover this accident. No. What time did you hit his wall on the 22nd?
It was around 4:30, 4:45-ish.
In the afternoon?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you going?
I was on the way to pick up my uncle to go to my son's football game.
Okay, so Miss Bigham, tell me what happened.
I was getting off the interstate. I turned right. I was coming up to the light. As I was going to the light, I never seen the car.
Go to the chart and explain it to me.
Okay, so this is 28th. I got up the interstate. This is me driving straight to the light. As I was going straight, just how it happened, a car comes out from over here, Haley Park. It hits me. It caused me to go left, but I was in this lane. It was going to cause me to go left and hit the cars in these lanes. So I turned right, and I ended up in his yard to avoid a collision.
Do you have photographs of the rear damage to your car?
It's right here, but you can't see. I guess they cropped out most of it.
I want to see the damage to the right
If I may.
driver's side. Yes.
I have some photos that might be helpful.
I'd like to see them.
These are the car, and these are other damages as well.
So it appears that someone hit her car on the driver's rear panel.
Yes, ma'am.
And took off.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Do you own this home, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And there's no question that you swerved in and damaged his property?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you try to contact her insurance company?
I did.
You went home, you were called, came from wherever you were from work, you came home, you took a look at it. Car was still there when you got home?
No, ma'am. The car was removed. My neighbor was able to put me on the phone with Makia and the police officer, so I was able to get that information. Immediately when returning home, I reached out to submit the photos that I had taken myself and submit the police report after obtaining it. It took, quite a considerable amount of time to get back with me. But when I reached out again to understand the status, they said that she's not liable and they were not going to stand behind it.
Can I see what they sent to you? Did they send something to you?
They did send a letter.
I'd like to see it.
I do not have that letter with me, but I actually called to speak with them.
You said they sent you a letter.
Yes, ma'am.
And where is it?
I don't have the letter. It was a denial letter.
That said it was not her fault.
It did not say it was her fault, but they said they could not submit the claim due to, I guess, whatever insurance she had, whatever coverage she had, the amount of coverage.
Oh, no, that's a different story. You see, that's why I need the letter.
Okay.
Either they said that they're denying the claim because it wasn't her fault, or they denied the claim because she had no insurance to cover it.
The letter also indicated, of course, reaching out to the company to speak and discuss it further. So when I did reach out to the point of contact on the letter to understand why they weren't covering it, the amount of coverage that she had did not cover, I guess, property damage. And that was an argument between me and the company. And
well, how much did it cover?
They did not specify.
Oh, well, that's...
They simply denied it and pushed it away and actually hung up on me. So there's no denying the car's there, right?
Yes.
No denying the accident.
No, I do understand you. Do you have homeowner's insurance?
I do have homeowner's insurance.
Did you put it in through your homeowner's insurance?
Consulted homeowner's insurance, and they suggested that I work this out, me personally, instead of taking the hit on my homeowner's insurance as a victim of this accident. So I didn't see that necessary.
Well, Mr. Davis, I sort of disagree with you, sir. And usually that's not the position I take. But if I am to believe Miss Bingham, and based upon the evidence that you presented to me, it clearly demonstrates that she was hit. Her vehicle was a victim of a hit and run. Her vehicle was hit, which caused this accident. There is no indication anywhere in the police reports that she was speeding, that she went through a light.
Based on her own testimony, she swerved in my direction to avoid hitting other cars.
Well, wouldn't that be smart?
Jimmy Davis claims motorist Micaiah Bingham owes for damage to his house after Micaiah crashed into his yard.
That sounds smart. She didn't
smart.
want to hit oncoming traffic coming from the other direction.
It was not oncoming traffic. She was in the same lane with the traffic.
If I am to believe her, and your evidence showing that her car was hit in the rear on the driver's side, so I have no reason to doubt her. There was no issue of drugs or alcohol involved. You weren't issued a citation, I assume?
No, ma'am.
No. Then if her insurance didn't cover it, your homeowners will cover it.
Sure.
And you should go through your homeowners.
My homeowners covers that, and that's a penalty for me, and I'm a victim here.
So is she.
Crossed over.
Just a second. So is she.
I understand.
If I am to believe her, and I believe her, so is she.
I understand.
But what I think you have to do is go through your homeowners, not Miss Bingham. She can't find the other driver. I mean, it would be different.
That's her responsibility.
No, sir. She is a victim of a hit and run. She has no way, unless it comes out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has no way, unless it's out of her pocket, of compensating you. She has insurance. You have no evidence to give me today as to why her insurance made a decision that they weren't responsible. You don't have that with you today, and it could very well be, as her insurance company determined, that this accident, while tragic, was not her fault. She was, in fact, a victim of a hit and run. You were a byproduct of that. So I'm telling you, go to your homeowners.
Well, let me understand correctly here.
What I'm telling you is use your homeowners. That's what I would do.
That's you. I mean, that's a lot of other people would have a different decision. A lot of other people would bring it to small claims court and try to dispute that. And that's what.
Well, that's what you're doing. And I'm telling you that you should use your homeowner's insurance because that's what it's for.
Typically with car insurance, there's property coverage.
You don't have, sir, I'm not accepting your hearsay. You have to prove your case to me. You see, that's your burden. You have to prove your case. I have now made a decision that the accident was not caused by her. She was not
caused by
she
her
was not,
deciding to
she
swerve
was,
into my property.
Are you trying to talk over me?
Just adding a little extra context to it.
It was not caused by substance abuse. It was not caused by speeding. There was no violation given to her. And according to you, she had insurance. So it's up to you to show me why
her insurance
no, not her policy, why you were told her insurance didn't cover it. You don't have that here. In the event that you give me a letter and the letter said she has liability for a certain amount, but it's not the $5,000 that you're alleging that it will cost to redo this. She only had $2,500. Well, then I would say to you, her insurance should kick in the $2,500, and I'm going to give you the other $2,500. You shouldn't be out of pocket. I would do that if she determines to underinsure her liability so that she pays less in insurance, then that's on her.
The insurance company wouldn't disclose all of that to me.
They sent you a letter, and you don't have it.
A denial letter, and to reach out to them
that's what you're telling me. That's hearsay, sir.
Okay.
That's hearsay. It's not hearsay if you bring it in to show it to me.
Understood.
So what I'm telling you is this is an incident where, in my judgment, you have two innocent people who were both victims of an irresponsible driver. And if her insurance company, for some reason, and I don't know what it is, that's for her to take up with her insurance company. I don't know whether she's underinsured or whether they determined, after looking at the same things that I determined, that the accident wasn't her fault. So you can't tell me what they wrote because you didn't bring that letter, and we're talking about something that you got a month ago.
Understood.
Okay, good. Then you go through then go through your homeowners because your case is dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
The defendant says she chose to drive into my house instead of hitting another car. Both are equally as dangerous, and that cost me.
I didn't want to hit 5 or 6 other cars. So I just did what I thought was best.
You know, I found out because it's a very public street. Many people know that community, so people reached out.
It was just everything happened so fast. I can't explain it. Energy was just like, I'm stuck. You know, my car just got stuck, and I was just like, hey, I'm just glad I didn't hurt anybody else.
Because they saw that it was a very horrible accident.
That's all. I was happy I was still here. Not the car, not the house, me. I'm glad I'm still here to go home my son.
No, the plaintiff really hurt himself with those photos of the defendant's car, and he didn't even notice. I don't think he even notices still. But she had no proof in front of her, no papers, no photos of what her car looked like, so she would have no way of showing that the accident was not her fault. But he proved that the accident was not her fault based on the photos of the car and just the situation in which her car got hit. But that's the reason that people have insurance. So I agreed with your sentiment about use it. That's its entire purpose. And I think that if he would have come in here and said, okay, I will put it through insurance, but I have a $5,000 deductible, I felt like you might have been more inclined to give him a portion of that, since neither of them were really at fault. They were both victims of a hit and run. But I would have respected that more if he had chosen to use his own homeowner's insurance as opposed to going after another victim. She wasn't at fault, and he knew that.
She really wasn't at fault. Yeah. She really wasn't at fault. And as we discussed a moment ago, the suggestion that she should have gone into to the left where there was an oncoming traffic rather than veering to the right and hit something that was a stationary object.
It was definitely the safer option. And in that second moment, she was lucky that she made that decision. You never know. Someone else could have lost their life.
Right.
Case 2153, Fawless versus Mixedbot. All parties, please step forward.
Elizabeth Fawless is suing her former friend, Christy Mazenbach, for 2 kayaks and an assault.
Miss Fawless, it is your claim you and the defendant were friends, been friends for a while.
Yes.
Your allegations are twofold. First, you say that the defendant assaulted you after a party.
Yes.
You weren't injured as a result of that assault. You didn't seek medical attention, but you said you had some scratches and that she hit you.
Yes.
Okay.
Elizabeth Fawless claims her former friend, Christy Mazenbach, owes for 2 kayaks and an assault.
There was no medical treatment. There was some drinking that went on that night.
Yes.
But the thrust of your complaint is that you gave the defendant 2 kayaks that you had purchased.
Correct.
Because the defendant has a piece of property and you didn't have a place to store them, and you asked if you could store them at the defendant's home.
Correct.
She said, yes, you're no longer friends after this kerfuffle that took place after a party, and you would like the 2 kayaks back.
Correct.
When did you purchase them?
I bought them on April 29, 2020.
From whom?
This lady and her mother were selling them on Facebook Marketplace. They were moving out of state, and her mom couldn't take them with her. So I have the messages of those two, but I bought them on Facebook.
And how much did you pay?
$320, or $350, sorry.
For both of them or each?
For both of them.
And when did you begin storing them at the defendant's?
I brought them over the next day after I bought them because I live in an upstairs apartment. I had nowhere to keep them. So she has a house that she lives in, so it was a better situation for them.
Where are you living now?
I still live in an upstairs apartment.
Where are you going to put the kayaks?
I was planning on storage or maybe find a family member who has a home to take them to. But to basically probably buy a storage.
That's pretty expensive to keep them in storage. If you paid $350 for the 2 of them 2 years ago. Have you used them in 2 years?
I bought them this year, this April 2022.
Oh, 2022.
Sorry, yeah, 22.
Okay. Have you used them?
Yeah, I use them often with my daughter. She's 5 and autistic.
Have you used them with the defendant?
No.
Have you used the kayaks?
Personally, I have not yet. I haven't had the chance to.
Just a sec, you have not?
I have not yet, no.
Okay, you acknowledge the fact that the plaintiff, who was then your friend, brought them over for you to store. You're not friends anymore. She wants them back. Why not?
So I would like to kind of go back to the beginning where like the assault happens, just so that you can kind of understand.
I'll get to this.
Okay.
The assault is not the important part of this case.
Okay. So the kayaks, originally, it was a deal that if I was to keep them at my house, that we could both use them. When she wanted them back, I just didn't necessarily feel like that was fair because the original agreement was that they were kind of almost both ours. I just didn't have the opportunity to use them yet.
Okay. All right. Well, now you're not friends anymore. Now she wants them back. So she's going to pick up the kayaks within 5 days. If you don't pick them up within 5 days, you're out of luck. Do you understand?
I understand.
Okay, good. So within 5 days from today's date, we'll prepare an order. You can pick up the kayaks. Now, you want to proceed with the assault part of your case?
Yes.
Okay. Show me pictures of what the injuries were that you sustained.
I don't have any photos. I had a different phone at the time. And
Just a second, so you don't have any photos. Do you have any medical reports?
I don't.
Okay. This alleged assault happened on what date?
It was August 17th, 2022.
Were you both out that night, or were you having a party in a house?
So what happened was her girlfriend had cheated on her and they broke up, and she invited me and a couple other friends to the home where we were there. My daughter was also there, where we were hanging out, we were talking, trying to have a good time because she was having such a bad time. And I ended up falling asleep at some point. I went to go sleep with my daughter in the room. Everybody had left maybe around 12 a.m. and she came into the room wanting to talk, wanting someone to be there with her. But I was asleep. I'm not a very happy person to be woken up to. So I told her no, like we'll talk in the morning. She wasn't okay with that. She started getting mad, so she started getting upset, and my daughter was next to me, so I was like, well, then I'm gonna leave. And so I tried to walk out. She grabbed me, she threw me to the ground. She's stronger than me, so she was on top of me. I was just scratching, hitting, pulling, trying to just get away. My daughter was screaming and crying. She's autistic, so she doesn't really understand what was going on, but she was highly upset. She was screaming no. And I was eventually able to like get up and try to leave. She followed me to the garage. I just tried to push and try to just get away from her, but I don't think she really remembers everything, and it just happened so fast. But I was finally able to leave and get out the home with my daughter safely.
Okay, good. Okay, bad behavior. Bad behavior.
I agree.
Bad behavior? Okay. I wish I had a photograph. Okay, within 5 days, pick up your kayaks. Are we done here?
Can I explain my end or no?
What?
Can I explain my end or no?
You did explain your end. You said you didn't think it was fair when she wanted her kayaks back because we were going to use them together. But now you're not going to use them together because you don't like each other anymore. So you're not going to use them together, so she's going to get them back.
Alrighty.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
There was a lot more to the story than happened, but unfortunately, I guess the best outcome would be just to go ahead and give her back her kayak. So
It shouldn't have gone to this point. I should have got him back after the incident. For adults, it should have went way smoother.
there was a lot more insult that happened, like on both ends. It wasn't necessarily the whole full truth.
I think she's just going through a lot with whatever she's going on with her ex, and just I feel like it just got taken out on me.
Because we were like sisters before, and things just kind of, go south, and unfortunately, we lost our friendship over that. So
We've been friends since middle school, so I don't know what the future holds, but I hope maybe one day we can talk and we can work things out.
Only time will tell.
I think probably the only thing that bothered me in that case was what the 5-year-old was doing out at midnight at a party where people, at a gathering where people were getting...
A breakup party,
A breakup party. Easy case.
Yeah.
Easy.
She paid for him. She gets it back.
Yeah.
Is suing his former friend, Elena Smith, for an unpaid car loan given to Elena after her release from prison.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone.
Hello, Judge. Case 2166, Hammond versus Smith.
Thank you. Mr. Salmon, the long and short of this case is you met the defendant on some sort of a website. She was in prison at the time. You began to see her. She got out of prison. You gave her a certain amount of money that you consider gifts to her, but then she asked you if she could borrow money to buy a car. You gave her $2,600 with the expectation of being repaid, and this is your lawsuit, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And your answer to him said, well, it was never really anticipated that I would give him back his money, only I said I would give him back if I got my stimulus money. I didn't get my stimulus money, so I'm not paying him back. That's what the case is about. Simple. So let me get a couple of pieces of information from you. From when to when were you in prison?
January of 2019 until June of 2022.
For what?
Several things. I did any thefts and stolen firearms.
And?
That was it.
Was there one indictment or more than one indictment?
One federal indictment and 23 counts for state.
Which state?
Washington.
Was it the first time you were in prison?
Yes.
Did anybody else go into prison as a result of the same case?
No.
At what point during your stay in prison did you begin to communicate with Mr. Salmond?
Somebody had put me on a prison pen pal website, which I wasn't aware of until I got a message from him. I took myself off the site. That site's usually for people to get things from people, money in their books, packages. So we started talking, but...
When? Give me a month and year.
It was in April of 2019.
So right away?
Yeah, about a few months after.
Right away. And you were in jail, so you clearly stayed in touch with him.
Yeah.
How often did you stay in touch with him?
We corresponded maybe initially once every couple of months.
And then?
And then I was taken from prison to Spokane in November of 2020 for a federal indictment. I was gone 6 months.
To serve time on a federal indictment?
Not to serve time, but to be indicted and sentenced.
And were you?
I was.
To what?
6 months.
In the same prison?
No.
Different prison?
Yeah, I was supposed to go after my state to go do my federal time.
Now, the government started to send out these stimulus checks, which, in my mind, and maybe I'm wrong, were given to people who were suffering through the pandemic because they couldn't work, they couldn't feed themselves, they needed money to exist. And that's why the money was given out. I mean, I recall the letter that came with the stimulus money. It seemed to me, Ms. Smith, so I'm going to ask you, because I read your answer, which I found interesting. And you said that while you were in prison and communicating with him, several of your stimulus checks came. Where did they come?
They were going to be sent to his house.
Why were they going to be sent to his house?
Because inmates were having their stimulus checks sent to the facility. The facility takes 75% of it.
Now, so I knew this would get more interesting, and I have to sort of put it in my timeline. So you had to apply for the stimulus checks.
Correct.
And all the inmates filled out a form for the stimulus checks. The other inmates filled out forms which said that they wanted the stimulus checks, gave them their social security number and an address.
Correct.
And you put his address on your stimulus check.
Actually, he filed it for me.
Whoever, he put his address. Was it at your direction that he filled it out for you? Or did he just do it himself? I mean, I'm up to a casual...
Yeah, he filed online for me.
Because you asked him to?
Yes.
And because he used his address, while the government was taking 75% of those stimulus checks and taking it for your upkeep in prison, because there's a certain amount of upkeep. You have meals, you have doctor services, whatever you have. They took 75, leaving you 25%, I suppose, to put on your account in the canteen or to do whatever you want. Is that close?
Yes.
How many checks did you see?
None.
Because according to you, they went to his house, and since he couldn't find you, because you had been transferred to one prison or another, what did you do with the checks and how many did you get?
I believe I got 2 checks and then they just all expired. You know, I never deposited them or anything.
Do you have them?
No, ma'am.
Where are they?
One of them I sent back.
And where's the other one?
Let's throw it away. Is it?
When did they send it, in 2020 or 2021?
I believe it was 21.
Your Honor, it was 2020.
Okay. But you never cashed any of them?
No, ma'am.
Good thing. Very good thing. No rhyme or reason to giving out stimulus money to people who are already being taken care of by the state, but the federal government, I know, was printing money like it was Mardi Gras, and sending money to prisoners is a dubious thing. Sarah, you looked up some figures for me on, because I was curious about this case. How much money Kevin and I spent on sending money to prisoners, especially those who were in long-term, like lifers or whatever. She wasn't, but she got stimulus checks. 2 of them sent to him.
So there were over 1.1 million COVID stimulus checks, totaling over 1.3 billion sent out to incarcerated people across the United States throughout COVID. And out of those numbers, according to the letter from the IRS, some 163,000 recipients were serving life sentences who received the stimulus checks. But that's throughout the U.S., not just in Washington.
Not just the state
or
of Washington. I got it. Okay.
Elmond claims his former friend, Elena Smith, owes for a car loan he gave her after she was released from prison.
Then, Miss Smith, there comes a time when you get out of jail.
Correct.
During the time that you were in jail, once you reconnected with him, did he send you any money?
That's when he started. He never had before. I never asked, but when
you reconnected?
Yes, because I had lost my job. Being
Oh,
gone
so you
for
got
court.
out?
No, I had a job in the prison.
Okay.
But I was gone for 6 months for court, so when I got back, I lost that job. So that was the first time I asked him for help. But again, my stimulus checks were supposed to be at his house, so
But they were
I didn't know
his-
that yet.
Okay.
So,
Well, you asked him to fill out the form. Why did you agree to fill out the form with your address on the stimulus checks?
She said she had no one else to send them to.
Okay. Mr. Salomon, do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Who do you work for?
I work at the hospital in Tyler.
What do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Now, Mr. Salmon, why wouldn't you ask Ms. Smith, hey, why do you want them at my house? I can't cash them. Why not just send them to the prison? Did she tell you?
No, ma'am.
Did you ask her?
No, ma'am.
All right, so he's not asking for any of that money back. He's asking for the $2,600 for the car that you wanted when you came out of prison. When you came out of prison, you lived independently.
I was in transitional housing.
Mm-hmm. And tell me how it came about that you asked him for money for a car.
He came and picked me up from prison, bought me a phone.
Okay, he picked you up. That was nice.
Yeah.
Anybody else pick you up?
No.
Who was that?
This is my best friend of 18 years.
Okay, did she pick you up?
No.
So he picked you up?
Yeah.
Okay, and what else did he do? He bought you a phone.
He bought me a phone.
He's not asking for that back. He bought you a phone as a gift, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct.
Yes, he bought you a phone so that you would be connected to the world.
Correct.
What's next?
Then he started cash apping me money
He
that
did.
I didn't ask for.
How much?
I have it over it here. The first one was June 13th for $50, June 14th for $50. This is prior to the car money.
So you said you needed some cash and
I never said I needed it. He just was doing it.
Okay, and he's not asking for any of that money back.
Right.
Now tell me about the car.
So I got a job offer, but I didn't have a vehicle. So he had been helping me out for a while.
Okay, so he's helping you.
So I asked him for money to get a car. This first stimulus check that he sent back, I wasn't getting, but the third one, I had to file a tax return in order to get that, which was only $1,400.
Just a second. I don't care about your stimulus money. I don't want to
That
buy
was how I
you
was
a
supposed to
car.
pay him back.
I don't want to buy you a car.
But he bought me a car.
No.
My stimulus money I was supposed to give him for only $1,400.
No. You have to understand something. You have no proof, and I actually believe him when I say he didn't cash your stimulus checks.
Yeah,
He returned them. You don't even think that he cashed them because that would have been a federal offense and he would have gone to jail.
I didn't.
And you didn't want to go to jail, right?
No, ma'am.
And truth of the matter is, stimulus money is, in my view, not for anything other than try to keeping everything in balance while there was COVID. Now, you got out of jail. Owning a car is sort of a luxury. You have to have a car, you have to have insurance, you have to be able to keep it up. That's not what stimulus money was for. So let's go back. He didn't collect any of your money. He was nice enough to put in $50 here, $60 there, gave you a phone so you would be connected. Now you tell him that you need money for a car. On what date do you tell him you need money for a car?
On June 15th.
And he gave you $2,600.
Correct.
And that was in June of 2022.
Correct.
Now, I'd like to see the emails following up when he's asking you for repayment of that $2,600. Do you have any?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at it. Where is the car now?
It was totaled. It was a recent car accident.
When?
December 2nd.
Who was driving it?
I was driving it.
Did you have insurance on it?
Yes.
Did you hit another car and the other car hit you?
The other car pulled out in front of me and I hit them. They were at fault.
The insurance payout on the claim? To whom?
To myself.
How much?
Just for the damage of the car, it was $3,200.
So what did you do with the money?
I bought a new vehicle.
What kind did you get?
2008 Pontiac G6.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $2,700.
So if you gave him back his $2,600, you still would have had a down payment enough for that car.
I paid cash on this vehicle.
I know what you did, but if you had done the right thing, you would have paid him back his $2,600 and you would have had a down payment and you would have been paying off the car.
So there was no agreement for me to pay the $2,600. It was to pay him back with my stimulus of only $1,400.
Well, I've read this here, and you know what I get out of these text messages back and forth? Something that people who are takers do all the time. They justify taking because you say, you're just so blank petty. You make more than enough, and I'm making $500 a week. I have real life problems. So you're saying that the money isn't really that important to you, and it's that important to me, and I have a child to take care of, and you don't. You make $500. You live alone, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. You live alone. You were a good sucker for a while, and now I'm not giving you back the money. I'm cutting you off. Did you change? Yes.
He continued to cash app her after the $2,600.
Up here.
After June 15th, when he sent her the $2,600, he sends her, unsolicited, another $700 dating all the way to August 11th.
Well, that's terrific. Isn't he a nice person? She's been your best friend for 17 years.
18, yes, ma'am.
18 years. Do you work?
I do.
What kind of work do you do?
I work in healthcare.
You make a living?
I do.
You have a car?
I do.
You have a home?
I do.
Right. Why didn't you give her money?
I was in the middle of a divorce, and we were selling our home.
So the answer is you had other things. You work, that's two sources of income of her best friend for 18 years. And she could have come to you. And
she did, and I gave her money.
Okay, well, she seems to be, you can sit down. She seems to be a taker. And if he gave her more money, even after this $2,600, he's not asking for that money back.
He also told me to keep the stimulus check to pay the car.
Oh, I'd like to see it. Not that it's important.
No, it is.
Because
he told me to keep it.
Just a second, because I'm not. You didn't get another stimulus check.
No, I didn't get the stimulus.
No, you didn't get another.
That was the only stipulation to paying him back was with that.
No. No.
Yes.
Has accused his former friend, Elena Smith, of refusing to pay back a car loan. Elena claims the car was a gift after she was released from prison.
He was being a really nice guy. I sent you money so you and your daughter can do some stuff, like you can get some of your precious Papa John's. Seems like a nice guy.
She never asked for any of it. She even had him blocked
Just a second.
during that.
She spent it.
Yeah.
Just a second. She spent it. Do you know, there are times when I remember both myself and other family members erroneously received money. I don't know if it ever happened to you. Okay. Erroneously, a deposit comes into your checking account. You don't know where it comes from. Well, somebody put it in there mistakenly, right?
This wasn't mistaken.
Just a second. Same theory, madam. Somebody put it in there mistakenly. Well, you can either report it to the bank and say, I don't want any more of this money. It feels uncomfortable to me. Or you can say, listen, I'm going to hold this in my account and see if they come after it, see how long it takes them to find it, right? Or you can do the honest thing. You pick up the phone and you call and say, this money doesn't belong to me and I'm not going to spend it. Similarly, even though the money was unsolicited, your friend was a user. Your friend was a user. She started out by saying, people use these online websites for prisoners because they want stuff. Is that what she said in the beginning?
I also said I took myself off of it. I didn't put myself on it.
Just a second. Whether you did or did not, I don't know, but you certainly benefited from it.
How?
You took his money. Somebody that you met, you took, according to now you, who you said $50 twice is what he sent. Now your friend says, oh no.
This is after.
Oh no, I know exactly what you said, madam. I know exactly what you said. You said, no, that was after the $2,600. But for somebody who says, I wouldn't want to be in that site because other people were using that site to get people to give them things, and I took myself off that site, well, there's no further reason for you to stay on the site. You had your sucker.
No.
No. This
Hold
is
on.
after she came out of jail.
It took 3 years. 3 years for me to ask him for anything. So if I was going to use him, it would have been the entire time. I stopped having communication with him because he was tracking my iPhone. He was constantly blowing up my phone. He wanted to have me do inappropriate sexual things to him. He became a weirdo. He sent me an email.
Madam, I have to tell you something. It takes one to know one. It takes a weirdo to know a weirdo.
No.
If you're in prison,
no.
To me,
No.
maybe not to
with
you.
The things that he asked.
Sit. If you're in prison, a woman in prison, you said the women in prison go on this line so that people, weirdos. I mean, I have a very large family, really large extended family. I don't know one guy that cold turkey goes on a prison website to get a pen pal. I don't know. I'm sure that there are people that do that, but the people that do that are sort of the same people in my mind, and I know it's an old mind, are the same sort of people that have themselves shot out of a cannon or will jump off a 9th-story building with a parachute and see if it works. A little bit crazy. A little bit. You know, even when you marry somebody who's doing a life term in prison, I think it's sort of an interesting story. I wouldn't recommend it for my granddaughter. So the fact that you did a substantial stint in prison, leaving a small daughter who was taken care of by whom?
Her father.
By her father. Still taken care of by her father?
Yeah.
So you have a place in your life that's sad that she's not with you, but it gives you the ability to create a life for yourself because you're free. So you can create a life for yourself. This man says, I was a very nice man. I made you more comfortable while you were in jail, a little more comfortable. And when you got out of jail, I also sent you money. Now, if you're telling me and your friend is suggesting that he wanted some sort of a quirky quid pro quo, that's a reason to cut him off. It's not a reason not to pay him back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,600. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
But we were just friends. You know, she just said a lot of things that weren't true. Like, I never asked anything from her.
I thought he was lonely. He goes on vacations by himself. He has no friends.
I didn't keep cashing after I was blocked and stuff. So
Thought he wanted a friend, and he was trying to buy my friendship, obviously.
no reason. She's just making stuff up. No character assassination.
Right after my release from prison.
Be careful you loan money to.
Don't get a pen pal.
No more prison pen pals.
So this is something they don't teach in law school.
I'm ready.
If something doesn't make sense to an otherwise sensible person, you have to know there's a gimmick attached to it. You know, if something walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck.
Yep.
Now it may be a mongoose, but if you'd be pretty safe in saying, you know, walks like a duck, talks like a duck. So it's not a duck, it's a mongoose. But if you come from a relatively simple background and you know a lot of people, and you don't know anybody who's pen pals with a prisoner. There are a lot of people, because there are lonely people. People in prison are lonely. And there are sometimes lonely women who start to communicate, even just from a sympathetic Good Samaritan kind of coming from that direction. People should know that if a stranger is giving you money, under those circumstances, there's got to be a catch there someplace.
I mean, I know my brain stems from your brain, so maybe we're just on the same track here, but I would never accept money from someone who's seemingly just giving it to me because. There's always a string, there's always an attachment, even from people that you know. But definitely with strangers, there's strings. Otherwise, why are they giving you the money in the first place?
Right.
I think she knew what she was doing, and even if she didn't sign herself up, even if we take her at her word on that, she knew what the people on that site were about.
Oh, well, she was very clear. Yep. She knew that people in prison were going to be entitled to get stimulus checks, but they were to be directed to the prison because the prison would take out 75% of those checks, which would cover your care. The government's still taking care of you, but they're not taking care of you twice.
Yeah, so basically the government is paying twice for you.
And so in order not to do that, she concocted this scheme.
Found someone who would be okay with the other end.
Sending it to them. And I'm sure that didn't come to her genius head alone. Somebody in prison said, this is what you do in order not to keep the 75%. If somebody else do it, your girlfriend, your sister, your mother, whoever it is.
If there's a system, people will find a way around it to benefit themselves.
Friend is suing her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., for stealing money from her deceased husband's bank account.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2190, Friend versus Ivy Jr.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Friend, your husband passed away recently.
Yes.
When did he pass?
August 26, 2022.
What did he pass away from?
He took his own life.
You have kids?
I have one. I have a daughter. She's 7 months old. She was born June 14th, 2022.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It is your claim that Mr. Ivan, after your husband's death, withdrew money from your husband's bank account. Was that a joint bank account or his own bank account?
It was under his, but
So it was his name?
Yes.
So it was his bank account?
It was.
Did you also have a joint bank account?
We just shared that one. I wasn't working, and I'm not working. He is sole provider of our family.
So the bank account was in his name solely?
Yes.
Okay. How do you know the defendant?
We met in 2020. We worked together at Target. And that's my husband and I, and also the defendant.
So you worked there?
Yes.
Did you become social friends?
Yes.
And at some point, Mr. Ivan says that your husband needed money, that he was in some sort of difficulty with rent money.
Okay.
That's what Mr. Ivan says. In what month, Mr. Ivan, do you claim that you loaned money to Mr. Friend?
Mr. Whalen is his name.
Whalen.
Yeah. Michael and I are best friends from the day that we met, by the way. Just hit it off right away. So this gentleman would come to me and vice versa.
Just tell me.
The money we're talking about, August 17th, 2022.
And was the conversation about the money in your house?
Yes.
In your house?
Yes.
I'd like you to tell me what that conversation was.
Absolutely. Michael showed up at my door on August 17th. He needed money, and he needed away from the plaintiff.
Just a second. Don't tell me what he needed. Tell me what he said to you.
His rent is very far behind, and he would like to borrow $1,500.
Did you ask him why?
Of course.
And what did he say?
Rent.
No. Why his rent was so far behind?
Oh, not exactly. He stayed with me for the next 2 days, so we had a lot of conversation about it.
Okay. So when he came on August 17th, he did not stay home with his wife and the new baby. He stayed with you for how many days?
For 2 that week.
You and your husband been having a difficult time?
We were the last couple weeks before his ending.
And he did, in fact, stay out. Did you know where he was staying?
No, I did not.
Okay, but you knew he was out?
Yes. I had asked him to leave.
Okay. Now, his rent in his house where his wife and his baby was overdue.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he needed $1,500 according to you, so what did you do?
I gave him the $1,500.
Mrs. Friend, in June, July, August, was your husband working?
Yes.
Same job?
He was working with Burlington, so yes.
Did your husband have any problems that you know of with either drugs or gambling?
I didn't know at the time.
But do you know now? Yes. What kind of problems did he have?
He was struggling with use of cocaine.
Okay, so that would account for his need for money and also for problems. Okay. Your husband was a young man. Did he have any life insurance?
He did, yes.
He did. How much?
It was, oh my goodness, it was $200,000.
Did the company pay on his life insurance? No, because he committed suicide?
Oh, it wasn't that. It was he had lapsed his payment. So I think his last payment was, I believe, in May, and he did not pay it. So because of that, they did not.
It lapsed?
Yeah.
It might not have been effective anyway since he took his own life. Okay, so you lent him $1,500. And how did you repay yourself and when?
Your Honor, I'd like to point out that she was very well aware of the fact that he was using cocaine for the better part of the year.
Just a second.
Okay.
Mr. Ivan, not necessary.
Okay. I repeat myself because that was our agreement. Michael was at my house a week later also. He logged onto my phone because he no longer had any belongings. He no longer had a physical wallet or a phone in his possession. He lost them. Miss Friend had his wallet, but I can show you that later. For now, he's asking me if he can put his memorized information on my digital wallet, which I can show you now if you'd like.
Yes.
It's still on my phone to this day.
His information?
Correct.
Okay.
With the agreement.
Just a second.
Friend claims her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., wrongfully took money from her deceased husband's bank account.
I want you to bring that up.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you're going to take a look at that?
It's the top card, sir. The one that says Chime. That's my digital wallet, my personal digital wallet.
So it's the same as when you put something in your Apple Wallet and you can pay using, I'm trying to think of the easiest way to describe this to you. If you log in to check your bank balance, you can save the card to your phone, so it makes it easier to pay with your phone. So it looks as if Mr. Friend logged in to the defendant's phone with his credentials and information.
So that
There's also latest transactions. The very last transaction was from 10/1/22.
And how much was that for?
$80 at a market. Then there's some gas stations.
That's for October. Prior to that.
There's a list of just latest transactions.
That's all those are the total transactions.
Yeah.
That you made?
Well,
just a second. There's an $80 transaction, according to Sarah, in October.
Yes, ma'am. So the way
was that your transaction?
It was.
Okay.
I have.
Well, just.
I'm sure they'll match with whatever.
$236 worth of charges. I charged $236 worth of charges.
From my husband's passing till.
Hold on. Hold. Well, I have $80 in October, but in transfer to, who is that?
That is
$1,400.
That is the deceased.
Who transferred that?
I transferred it. That is a GoFundMe account. And we'll get to this. The check that came through after he passed away hit my phone because he loaded his card onto my phone. The agreement was that I pay myself back when he was still alive with the funds that are on that phone.
Just a second.
The remaining I sent to a GoFundMe account.
Why did you do that? Just a second. I can almost understand Mr. Ivan.
Yeah.
Because what your position is, and I actually believe that it's accurate that your friend came to you.
100%.
That your friend came to you in need of money, that he and his wife were having difficulty, that he had an addiction problem, that he probably spent the rent money on his addiction problem. All of that sort of makes sense. And even though resorting to self-help after he passed, I would frown on. I would say this is a debt that's owed by his estate. And I could understand you, who had access to his account, taking back the $1,500 because you say that was his agreement with you, as was sort of buttressed by the fact that he put his banking information, and it's his sole banking information, on the card. But why would you transfer any other money other than the $1,500 out of his account?
Into his family's name, Your Honor, and I can show you why. I have transcripts with everyone that knows us. I could have a dozen people here. I'm sorry, I could have a dozen people here with me to make this claim, but this is a very sensitive situation for a lot of people involved. So I'm going to fight this fight on my own without them here.
Just a second.
And they will all tell you that this is the last person on earth that should have that money.
Just a second. This is not about you making a judgment or about 30 other people making
That's what Michael asked me
just
to
a
do.
second. Sir, unless you have a writing from the deceased that's authenticated in the same process as would authenticate a will, you have no right to make that judgment as to whether or not his wife and or child, I assume he died without a will, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So under the laws of practically every state, if you die intestate, which means you die without a will, there's a certain order of people who inherit your money. Your spouse, your children, it goes sort of in order. There's a pecking order. You have no right to amend that. You actually don't even have a right to repay yourself after he's dead. You have no right to do that. But I can actually understand your sense that unless you paid yourself, you weren't going to get your money back. I can understand that. But whatever your intentions were, sir, you have no right to do anything else with the money in that bank account.
May I?
Am I making myself clear? I hope so. Is that clear? Yeah.
Brought me right back to wills, trusts, and estates. So
yeah. Right. Go ahead.
Your Honor, Michael and I had an agreement. Okay, so whether or not he's here to
just a second. You and Michael had an agreement that you made a loan to him in the amount of $1,500, and in order to secure your repayment, I read your answer, sir.
Yeah.
He gave you his account number, and according to you, he said, when I get paid, you can take the money back that you loaned to me. That's $1,500.
May I continue? I've only used $236. That's all that I've used. $236, and I can show you the math here on this spreadsheet, but let's start with $1,500. $845 he paid back to me on August 24th, a week later.
Oh, okay, hold on a second. So $1,500.
That's right.
And he paid you back what?
$845 on August 24th.
Good for him.
Right.
Did he pay you back by Michael? Just listen to me. Don't play. Did he pay you back by coming to your house and giving you the money? Or
digitally.
Did he, shh. He paid you back digitally.
That's right.
May I see that, please, Kevin?
Using my phone and his account.
So now he owes you $655.
That's right.
Okay. Kevin, I'd like you to show this to the plaintiff. Have you seen this?
No.
Okay, I'd like to show this to the plaintiff. So Mr. Ivan acknowledges that your husband, Ms. Friend, pay attention, that your husband paid him back more than half of what he had borrowed. Now, then you took back, Mr. Ivan, from the account, how much money?
$236.
No, that's not true.
Shh.
We can go line by line.
Shh.
Courtney Friend has accused her former friend, Joseph T. Ivan Jr., of stealing money from her deceased husband's bank account.
Which of these charges? There's an $80 charge, a $60. Are those your charges?
Yes.
Okay, hold on.
$140.
Just a second. $145.
Yes.
A $77.35.
Yes, and that's it. Those four.
What about Cash App?
That's the digital transaction that you just had.
Oh, an $845. Got it.
I'm still owed $392.
Okay. Now, how much money do you allege, and I'm going to give this to you or give you, you must have this. How much money do you allege that he took out of the account?
I'm asking for $2,700.
I don't care what you're asking for. That's irrelevant to me what you're asking for. Okay. How much money do you allege he took out of the account?
I think he took way more than what he's saying.
Oh, well, I don't care what you think. Ms. Friend.
It's proof right there.
I don't. Other than the $1,400, which he says he transferred to the GoFundMe page, did you receive for your daughter any part of this $1,400 that came from a GoFundMe page?
I have not, no.
Okay. Just a second. Okay. But the GoFundMe page was subsequent to your husband's death. Is that right?
Yeah.
Who started the GoFundMe page?
It was my husband's.
So this money did not belong to your husband. This money was not money from your husband. This money was started by somebody else, not the defendant, and somehow ended up in your husband's bank account. Am I getting that right?
No.
Well, what's this 14? How did it end
I
up?
transferred it from, that's Michael's bank account ledger that's attached to my digital wallet.
I understand.
And it's going to the GoFundMe. A GoFundMe is a special account that's set up in a tragic, or well, not necessarily.
I know exactly what it is, but what I'm not following is why would it not be in his...
It is. He's saying that is a to, not a receiving.
That's a debit, not a credit.
He sent the $1,400 from Michael's
to the
account.
Just a second. Oh, you can't do that. Sorry, sir. You can't do that. So you took out money that didn't belong to you because at best case scenario, you're still owed $400.
$392.
Yeah, okay, $400. You were still owed $400, and you withdrew $1,400 of Michael's money and sent it to the GoFundMe page.
Yeah, because of the fact that the last person on earth that Michael would want to have that money is this person right
That's not your judgment to make, sir.
That's fine.
Just a second. That's not, listen to me. I tried to explain to you what the laws of intestacy are in this country. If you die without a will, there are certain people who get your money, whether the deceased hates them, wasn't talking to them. It doesn't make any difference unless he and his wife are separated by a lawful separation order by the court. She and his daughter are entitled to this money, and it's not up to his best friend or his best friend's friends or other people to say he was angry with her, she threw him out. Whatever the reason that you're saying Michael would want the last person to receive any money from this GoFundMe page is the plaintiff, that's not your decision to make. You took back some of your own money. He paid you back some. You may get skunked for $400.
I don't want it.
Just a second. You may get skunked for $400. But if you sent this money to a GoFundMe page and that was $1,400
for the family's name, Your Honor,
you can't do that.
That's fine. I did it because Michael would not want her to have it, so I gave it to his family.
Okay. Well, you can't do that, sir.
I have a baby.
I'm not faulting you emotionally, sir.
Yeah.
Listen to me. You were there. You provided a shelter for Michael
to get away
when he was.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'll stop. That's a fact. It's just the truth.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,400. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
It doesn't matter. The woman's a fraud. She's a fraud. That money should not be going to her. She's the last person on earth that this gentleman wanted to have that money.
I'm happy. I'm happy that she sided with me, listened to me, and...
Oh, that's all she cares about is money. That's what this is all about.
Knew that was not right, because it's not. I mean, what kind of person would...
Courtney's out for money. Always was in the relationship.
Take money from a new mom, someone who's grieving. It's been such a mess, and I feel good about this.
Because I'm the only one who would do the right thing with it, and he knew that.
He was very defensive. He was very defensive and very hateful.
I'm the great guy. He'd want me to fight the good fight. All good.
He shouldn't have took anything from me. I've already lost so much.
Happy it's over.
I've lost my best friend, my husband, the love of my life, and the father of our new child. It's not okay. He caught me in a very vulnerable state.
That case, for as tragic as it was, and I really felt for the plaintiff, brought me right back to wills, trust, and estates, and the basic, 3 rules: age of majority, of sound mind, and a writing. And it's just really unfortunate that the plaintiff's husband didn't have one.
You know, if I were to venture a guess, I would say that most people, when they're under 40, don't have a will.
Yeah.
He was a new father, you know, baby.
Makes it all that much more important.
Yeah, it does. But he was a new father with a cocaine addiction.
Yeah. Tough to try and guess the mental state of someone going through that, but I also agreed with you that you can't fault the defendant for his emotional. He knew how his friend felt, and he was trying to carry out those wishes, but there is the law and there are rules, and you can't take it upon yourself to redistribute your friend's money.
Or the GoFundMe money. Yeah.
All good intentions, but you got to follow the rules.
Mila Bazin is suing her former employer, Sarah Adams, for lost wages and pain and suffering from a dog bite.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2177, Bazin versus Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bazin, you had a job as a dental assistant. Is that right?
Yes.
And you went to school for that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where did you go to school?
Medical Institute.
Did you graduate?
Yes.
I gather you didn't like it.
No.
I say that because you didn't stay in that career path for very long. Just for my own curiosity, I come from a long family of dentists. Tell me why you didn't like being a dental assistant. Had to be a reason.
Cleaning people's teeth and having them fight you and tell you that they don't have cavities when they do.
You didn't like the whole experience?
Yeah, all the explaining you have to do.
Okay, got it. Wasn't for you.
No.
You've got it in your hip pocket should you ever need it again, right?
Yeah.
You have the degree. In any event, the defendant was a patient of yours. She came in as a patient?
Yes.
And you got to know each other, according to you. And she offered you a job at a place that she manages. You manage a store? What kind of store?
It's an appliance store, so we sell scratch and dent appliances.
When was that?
Oh, geez. This had to have been in May.
May of 2022?
Correct.
Is that when you started working in the store?
I started July 3rd.
That was your start date? And what were your duties?
Sales rep, she taught me how to sell the scratch and dent appliances, how to run the store and help her manage it. I was making more commission, so I did take the job besides the dental office.
So you worked in the dental office too?
No.
You left the dental office?
I left the dental office so I could pursue more money.
Okay. And you did make more money?
Yes.
There came a time, according to what I read in the complaint, that you, Miss Adams, asked the plaintiff to do an outside job for you.
No, that was not correct. So
tell me how it happened that she ended up at your house.
What happened was I was going to take my lunch to take my kids who were at home lunch because they were on school break. She offered to go.
How old are your children?
16, 13, and 10. She offered to go in my place that she wanted a break. She clocked out for her lunch. I gave her money to go, 1, pick up the food, and 2, a little bit of gas money. She then went to my house.
Just a minute, we're not there yet. She clocked out for her lunch break.
Correct. I was clocking out at work.
Shh. And you're the store manager?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long do you get for a lunch break?
An hour.
That's an hour during the day. That's yours.
Correct.
Now, from the store where she was, where she clocked out, to the place where she was supposed to pick up lunch for your children, how far was that? Because you said you gave her gas money, so it wasn't around the corner.
15 minutes away.
And how far from this place where she got the food is your house?
Right down the road.
5 minutes.
Not even 2.
2 minutes, 17 minutes. And then she's got to get back.
Correct.
So that's almost 40 minutes.
Correct.
Out of her 1 hour lunch. So she was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why don't you just say that? So you made me go through this whole exercise. It was more than half her lunch. It gave her 15 minutes for lunch. She was doing you a favor.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask you to do her this favor?
Yes.
Tell me how she asked you to do her this favor.
Wouldn't go through when we were ordering the food. I was already on my way home. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so I was ready to go. She said, go ahead, here's some money, deliver the food to the children. Thank you for your help.
Did you have to pick up the food?
Yes.
Okay, she gave you money.
The drive-thru, sat in the drive-thru, ordered the food, drove to her house.
So is what you're telling me that you did not volunteer?
No, I was going home and it canceled, and I said, okay, I'm on my way home anyway.
Oh, so step back. Did you order food
I
to send
did,
to your
and
kids?
it did not go through.
Okay, so you ordered food to get there, and this was lunchtime.
Correct.
And how did you find out that they canceled?
They sent me a notification to my phone.
To your phone?
Correct.
And what time was that?
1 o'clock, 1:15.
Had you already taken your lunch break?
No, ma'am. Most days I do not.
So you're in the store all day?
I am.
Well, then it would seem to me she had to find out that they canceled because you said that they sent the note to you.
We work right next to one another.
I don't know. She wasn't looking over at your phone.
Right.
She wasn't looking over at your phone. If you work right next to each other, common sense would dictate you said something, oh, whatever. Well, what expletive you used, they canceled my order.
Correct.
Could you take stuff to my kids for lunch?
I was going to do it. She offered.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day.
Claims her former employer, Sarah Adams, owes for injuries from a dog bite. Sarah is countersuing for harassment and slander.
I want you to tell me exactly what you said. You stay in the store all day.
Yes.
Okay.
But on
and
this
she was ready to leave.
No, so she was leaving for her lunch.
No.
I was going to leave and take the kids' food. Mila stated she wanted to go out of the store. She needed a break. So I told her, okay, if you want to clock out and take your lunch, if you will do this for me, I will give you an extra $20 for gas. She said, okay, no problem. So it was doing me a favor.
That's what I want you to say.
Yes.
She was doing me a favor because I wanted to get my 16-year-old lunch that she couldn't get for herself.
Correct.
Right. That she couldn't walk around the corner and get for herself, or open the freezer and put in a toaster. Right?
Right.
Okay. So you had one of your subordinates go to your house and deliver the food. That's the bottom line. You had one of your subordinates, because you were in the store where you stay all the time, you had one of your subordinates, gave her $20, here's a little gas money for you, go pick up the food and bring it to the house. By the way, your 16-year-old doesn't get around?
No, she's not driving it.
She walks.
Correct, but I don't like my children to leave the house.
In the middle of the day, 1 o'clock?
Correct.
Okay.
Not in this world that we live in.
Okie dokie. Anyway, here's $20. Thank you. Did you say anything else to her?
No.
Has she ever been to your house before?
Not at that time, no.
Prior to giving her money and say, could you pick up the food and drop it off, she had not been to your house before.
Correct. I did state to her before she left.
Just a second. She had not been to your house before.
Correct.
Now you thought about it and you thought about your defense, and you did, in fact, according to you, just remember something, because here's $20. Would you take the food, drop it off for the children? And in addition, voila, you said to her,
please do not go in my house. My dog is aggressive.
And that's why
I did tell her to call me when she got there. I would call my daughter, have her go out and get the food. And Your Honor, I do have a video of my Ring doorbell of what happened.
I'm going to watch that.
Okay.
Because what happened was there was a lot of food, according to what I've read. It needed
3 children.
It needed 2 trips. Daughter took in some, she took the other, and she was bitten by your pit bull.
Correct, but I told her, do not go in my house.
And she was bitten by your pit bull.
Yes, in my home.
She wasn't trespassing in your house, madam. She wasn't burglarizing your house. She was bitten by your pit bull. That's
Right,
what the
but she
case
was
is about.
She was told not to go into my house.
If I believe you.
I have evidence.
I'm going to look at it.
Okay.
If I believe you, whether I believe you or not, she was bitten in your house by your dog. How old is your pit bull?
7 years old.
Where did you get her?
From the pound.
So you went to get food. You took your car and you went to get food. And you picked up how many bags of food for the 3 children?
There's at least, I think, 2 bags, or 1 big bag, and then 2 drinks. 3 drinks in total. I had to carry 1 drink back in behind April. I should have waited in the car. But
Now, why should you have waited in the car? Why?
now that I'm bitten, I say that.
Well, what would have made you think that you should be waiting in the car?
No reason.
Did Miss Adams say to you when you left,
No, Your Honor.
text me when you get there, my daughter will come out?
Yes, to make it easier for me, but not because she told me she had a killer dog.
Did she tell you she had any dog?
No, I knew of one little dog. Her little Mookie, her baby Chihuahua dog.
Your Honor, I bring a dog with me to work every day.
That you just got while I was working there.
Just a second. Don't interrupt. She said she knew of one little dog, a Pekingese. That's all you knew about.
I knew of her Chihuahua at the time. The Pekingese came later. She inherited her dad's dog, but all I knew of was her little Mookie Chihuahua. I also have a Chihuahua. I thought we both had Chihuahuas. I would not go to anyone's house if they had a killer pit bull. Pit bulls, period.
Okay, you picked up the food, you got to the house, what did you do?
April came out to the car, grabbed what she could. I had the remainder drink. I got up and followed Miss April inside the house. Once we got to the door.
Is April the 16-year-old?
Yes.
That's you.
Mm-hmm. Once she stepped inside, I stepped in behind her. She turned around to grab it, and the dog was right there.
Step up.
Bit my leg.
Okay. April, do you have friends?
Yeah.
Do they drive?
No.
None of them?
No.
And do you live in a rural area, or are there stores there?
There's some stores down.
What kind of stores?
A grocery store.
Yeah. So if you wanted to and you were hungry, you would have gone to the grocery store and gotten something for lunch. Is not an answer.
Yes.
So on that day, let me make sure what day we're talking about here. July 18th. On July 18th, you and your siblings were home for the day?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me about the conversation you had with your mother about ordering lunch.
My siblings were hungry and wanted something new, so I asked my mother.
You called your mother at work?
Yes, I called my mother at work to ask if she can order some food.
What time did you call your mother?
It was around 1.
And that's all you said to her? And what did your mother say?
She said yeah.
She said yes, but she must have also said, what do they want? I mean, they didn't want to go to the grocery store, so she said, what do you want?
She said, I can order McDonald's, and I said, that's fine.
She said, I can order McDonald's, and?
And I said, that's great, that's okay, thank you for doing that.
Okay. Now, she called you later to tell you that they had canceled the order.
Yes.
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 And what did she say when she said they canceled the order?
She said that Mila was coming over to drop off the food, and she already told her about...
No, don't make things up as we're going. Be very careful when you talk to me.
Yeah.
She said Mila is on her way over with the food.
Yes.
Now, Mila came over, she pulled her car up in front of your house.
Yeah.
And did you see her pull the car up in front of the house?
Yes.
Okay, did you come outside?
Yes.
All right. Came outside. Did she get out of the car? We're going to go step by step. She got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor.
Is accusing her former employer, Sarah Adams, of refusing to pay for injuries caused by her pit bull. Sarah claims Mila already agreed to a $300 settlement.
Now, she got out of the car?
No.
She stayed in the car?
Yes.
And you took a bag?
I took all I could, 2 bags and a drink.
Okay, but that wasn't all the food there was?
Yes. I told her I would come back for the rest.
Did she say that to
No,
you?
Your Honor. I was just nice and got out of the car and followed her.
Yeah, you didn't have that much of a discussion. It doesn't make sense that you had that much. So there was a drink left?
Yes.
So she was walking in following you with the 1 drink?
No.
She didn't follow you into the house with the 1 drink?
Not until later.
What do you mean not until later? What happened in between the fact that you grabbed the food and 2 drinks, there was a drink left, now she's out of the car.
I didn't realize she was out of the car. I thought she would stay under the car. So I'm walking over to the house to open the door.
Okay. Now, I want you to point to some place in this room where the car was and where your front door was. Make believe I'm the car. Point to some place in this room. If it has to be more, you can say it's twice that distance, twice the distance from the front and the back of the courtroom, or half the distance, or it's the same distance. How far is it from the car to your house?
The car was right here, and our
No,
door...
I'm the car.
Yeah.
And how far away is front door?
About right here, not that far away.
Where?
Where those...
So maybe 20 feet.
Yes.
Now I'm going to look at your video.
Got it? Give me a towel. I'm so sorry. Give me a towel, hurry.
I didn't hear you say to her when she turned around, stay out there. I didn't hear you say that to her. Do you understand? I didn't hear you, and I heard everything. Say that to her. She had one drink that she was going to give you, and she actually leaned over to give it to you as you were in the door. I didn't hear you say anything to her. Stay outside, don't come near here. That's a long walk. I didn't hear you. Is that because you didn't say it?
No, before the video, when I went to get, she was inside.
Oh, we're going to hear it again. We're going to go right from the beginning. I heard you speak to your brothers, open the door, food's here. I heard that. I didn't hear anything else. I may have missed it. We're going to play it again. You turn around, you saw her walking in after you. Okay. Anyway, Ms. Bazin, as a result of this dog bite, according to you, you had some serious medical issues. It became infected, couldn't work for a period of time. Do you have any of the medical records?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at them.
I have them, the bill and the records. You want just the records?
Yeah, both.
Color coordinated by paper clips.
Does the job that you had give you health insurance?
So I have access with Arizona, and they pay up a percentage of it, but not everything.
Do you have what is left over that is your
So they wouldn't give me until the end of the year, I guess, but that's what they billed me, and they keep calling me every day saying I have.
Your Honor, I have a text message from Mila saying that she had unlimited health insurance
That's what
and
I
they can
thought
bill her for whatever she wants.
That's
I would like
before
to
I knew I
present
was
that
going
for
into
you.
surgery.
Let's try not to talk to each other.
Also, Mila went to the hospital 4 times, and I have records of all of that and what they did each time per her text messages.
Yeah.
And I have pictures of the bite when it happened if you'd like to see that as well.
She has it. You don't have to prove her case. I'm sure you have pictures.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure. How long were you on antibiotics?
For at least almost like 2 months off and on. I had to go back multiple times and have it aspirated.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, got infected. Do you rent or own your own home, Miss Adams?
I rent it.
You have renter's insurance?
I do.
Did the renter's insurance that you have, is the company aware of the fact that you had a pit bull?
Yes, and it is extremely hard to find a place to rent with a pit bull.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you whether your insurance, your renter's insurance, had a provision that excluded the insurance from a pit bull bite.
I do not recall, no.
What state do you live in?
Arizona.
What's the name of the company?
It's through our insurance on the car. I'm not 100%.
Did you notify them of this dog bite?
No, I did not.
Why not?
Because she even said it was her fault.
It wasn't her fault. It was your fault. You had the dangerous animal.
How is it my
Guys,
fault?
just a
I
second.
told her
Don't
not to go in my house.
Don't ask me any questions, madam, and I'm going to tell you something. Based upon that video, there's no indication that you told her, don't go into my house.
I told her at work.
Listen to me. Based upon what I saw, if you knew that you had a dog that was territorial and she shouldn't go into the house, then you, when you speak to your daughter who was too lazy to go to the grocery store, say to her, I have one of my employees that I'm sending with your food, which is exactly what happened. You would have said to her, make sure that you take the stuff from the car, and she wouldn't have, unless she's an idiot, she wouldn't have, when she saw the plaintiff coming up with the extra drinks, she would have said, do me a favor, just stay out here, put them down on this shelf where I put the other drinks. Don't walk into the house. She said nothing. She walked into the house and in effect held the door open so that she could deliver the other.
lemon. Second. Third. Fourth. This full big small lemon. So nice. Beautiful. Yes.